Chapter 731. After Xiao Chen spoke, he left in a rush. When he reached the door, Shui Lingling suddenly called out to him. Xiao Chen stopped and asked, "First senior sister, is there something else?" Shui Lingling closed her eyes, and her gentle face sank into deep thought. After a while, she opened her eyes and said, "I will wait for you to return 1 year from now. At that time, not only will you have to face Bai Wushua's challenge, but you should also be qualified to participate in the Sage War of the Proud Son of Heaven ranking. Finally, take care. No matter what, you have to return alive." Xiao Chen's body trembled slightly. He could feel the concern in Shui Lingling's words, so he paused for a moment. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything and left. Starlight flickered, and the night became like a chessboard, showing many changes. In the periphery of the savage beast forest in the Haotian province, towering trees could be seen everywhere. The dense foliage blocked out the starlight, not letting it shine. Beast roars resounded in the dark forest, sometimes near and sometimes far. They sounded like the angry roars of ghosts. In this pitch-black world, it was exceptionally flustered. However, the cultivators who came to take the risk would not be frightened by the dark night. If they were timid, they would not have the guts to barge into the famous savage beast forest of the Tianwu domain. Somewhere in the forest, a bonfire burned fiercely. The flickering light from the fire gave this dark world a not-so-dazzling light. In the boundless darkness, the light of this fire could illuminate everything within 5 kilometers. Aside from newcomers to the savage beast forest, no one would be able to see it. Aside from newcomers to the savage beast forest, no one would light a bonfire at night. That was no different from suicide. The ferocious nocturnal spirit beasts would discover it immediately and launch themselves at you. However, at this moment, a kilometer away from the bonfire, pairs of green eyes stared at the white figure beside the bonfire. However, they hesitated, not daring to take any action. A few fire spirit monkeys with their stomachs cut open hung from a tree a kilometer away. The blood on their chests had yet to congeal, and a pungent smell lingered for a long time. Fire spirit monkeys were rank 8 spirit beasts. They were tyrants in the periphery, and no one dared to offend them. Seeing the corpses of the spirit beasts hanging on the tree, any spirit beast with the slightest bit of instinct would not act rashly. Next to the bonfire, there was an unfurled scroll floating in the air. The white figure half a meter in front of the scroll was staring at the person in the painting. A young girl with a petite and cute face and an extremely hot body was adding branches to the bonfire bit by bit. The flickering firelight caused her delicate face to turn red. The young girl smiled and softly counted 1, 2, 3 for when he counted 9. The white figure in front of the painting seemed to have experienced something extremely terrifying. His face was filled with terror as he retreated dozens of steps. The man and woman were none other than Xiao Chun and Ao Jiao, who had left the Haotian sect. No sect would allow a disciple to go on a long journey after being in the sect for less than a year. Firstly, they were afraid of an accident. Secondly, they were afraid that the disciple would leave after obtaining some benefits. However, with Shui Lingling's personal jade pendant, the Haotian sect's intersect first elder had no choice but to agree to Xiao Chen's request. Yu Chenxi and Gong Yanyu had both gone on sect missions, so Xiao Chun could not say goodbye. After entrusting someone to hand the dragon mark fruit to Yu Chenxi, he left on his way alone. The fastest way to the Fiend domain from the Haotian province was to head west through the savage beast forest. After passing the most remote Hunluo province of the Tianwu domain, one would arrive at the Fiend domain. When Ao Jiao saw Xiao Chun take a few steps back, she smiled and said, "Not bad. This time, you lasted for 9 seconds. Soon, you will be able to break through 10 seconds. Xiao Chun smiled bitterly. He stretched out his hand and rolled up the painting of the Qing Emperor, drawing the saber. He sighed and said, "I can already discover 32 directions to draw the saber." However, his starting stance seems to be ever-changing. There is always a direction that you cannot predict. After entering the savage forest, Xiao Chun had nothing to do. In the end, he could not resist the temptation of the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber, So he unfurled the painting again. In reality, any true bladesman would be like Shao Chun. After seeing a saber technique that defied their common sense, no matter how strange it was, they would try to figure out what it was. Slowly, Shao Chun discovered that he could block the saber of the person in the painting. However, he had to guess where he would draw the saber first. Otherwise, he would still die in one strike. Even though Shao Chun had experienced this many times before, he still had not gotten used to the feeling of approaching death. It was unbearable. However, Shao Chun had benefited a lot from this kind of suicidal behavior. His understanding of drawing the saber was much stronger than before. The process of drawing the saber only took an instant. However, in that instant, as the body moved or the angle at which the saber was held changed, the trajectory of the saber would immediately become very different. The trajectory of Shao Chun's saber immediately became very different. Even the surrounding environment changed. Even if the trajectory of the saber was the same, the situation would change. If one advanced to a higher realm and infused their state of mind into drawing the saber, there would be new changes. An even higher realm would be one with the world. The instant the saber was drawn, it would contain the comprehension of the world, the control of the heavenly Tao. At that point, the saber would no longer be a saber. Shao Chun was still far from such a realm. He was still at the most basic stage, how to control the angle and the environment to make different changes. As far as Shao Chun knew, there was no one in the younger generation of the Tianwu domain who had such a deep understanding of drawing the saber. If Shao Chun could improve it further, it might become his new killing move. As Shao Chun held the painting, he revealed a contemplative gaze. He muttered, "I keep feeling that this painting is not that simple. There should be an even greater secret hidden in it." Ao Jiao raised her eyelids slightly and said, "What is so special about it? I have seen many such treasures. They are just projections of one's comprehension of the martial technique onto a piece of paper. Many of the martial techniques that Emperor Wu passed on to the later generations are like this. The jade strip containing the dragon tone absolute art of yours has a similar effect. It is just that this drawing the saber is harder to comprehend." Shao Chun smiled faintly and placed the painting in his universe ring. He said, "Perhaps. However, I have a feeling that if I can grasp all the positions of the saber, the answer will be obvious." Ao Jiao's lips curled up slightly. Clearly, she did not believe that there was any big secret. Shao Chun swept his gaze around. When he saw the many pairs of green eyes, he said, "Get up. I have to get to work." Shao Chun casually waved his hand and extinguished the bonfire in front of him. Then, he turned into a beam of dim light and returned to the immortal spirit ring. The surrounding light vanished, and night completely engulfed Shao Chun. Shao Chun stretched his arms and legs. After he locked onto his prey, he quickly ran and leaped across the ground. So. The darkness of the night did not hinder Shao Chun's vision at all. A white figure leaped about in the forest like a nimble cheetah, leaping over obstacle after obstacle. Shao Chun crossed a kilometer in an instant. A spirit beast covered in snow-white fur and looking like a stout tiger appeared before Shao Chun. This was one of the more powerful rank 7 spirit beasts, the ice tiger. However, it did not pose any challenge to Shao Chun. Shao Chun had another purpose in making it his prey. Shao Chun's strong aura was withdrawn in his body, not leaking it out, no different from an ordinary person. When the ice tiger saw Shao Chun, its first impression was that he was somewhat strange. However, it was not as intelligent as humans. When the ice tiger no longer sensed any danger, it finally could not resist moving forward. The surging energy from its feet pounded the ground rhythmically. Dong, dong, dong. The ice tiger gave off ear-splitting sounds that traveled far into the darkness before slowly fading away. Seeing the ice tiger approach, Shao Chun smiled faintly. He did not show any intention of moving. However, the purple clouds in Shao Chun's dantian scattered and turned into vast quintessence, surging through his meridians like a gushing river. The path of the quintessence's flow was very strange. It only made small cycles in the 3 meridians in his chest. Eventually, the quintessence flowed faster and faster, spinning somewhat frantically. This spurred Xiao Chen's blood, bones, skin, and muscles to give off subtle clanging sounds. Dang, dang, dang. The sounds gathered together like a low and furious dragon roar. As the quintessence spun in Xiao Chen's chest, it did its best to find an outlet to release it. However, it could not go out. It could only spin, 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 and spin. That low dragon roar became increasingly urgent. The accumulated energy made Xiao Chun feel like his chest would explode at any moment. If Xiao Chun looked into his body at this moment, he would discover that the quintessence flowing in his chest had turned into an azure dragon image. The dragon image turned solid. As the low dragon roar became more urgent, the dragon image turned more solid. It was like all the sound gathered in this azure dragon image's quintessence. The swelling feeling in Xiao Chen's chest had already reached the critical point. If this energy could not be vented, it would explode Xiao Chun to death. The ice tiger's huge figure was only 5 meters away from Xiao Chen. It swung its claws at Xiao Chun. If Xiao Chun did not do anything, no matter how hard his head was, this attack from the ice tiger would turn him into meat paste. Break! Xiao Chun, who had not moved all this while, finally moved. However, he did not move his feet or his hands. Instead, he roared at the top of his lungs. The dragon-shaped quintessence that had been waiting in Xiao Chen's body for a long time, itching to charge out immediately, shot out with a shio sound. The dragon-shaped quintessence spun around and turned into a whirlpool of formless sound waves that quickly spread out from Xiao Chen's throat. A loud sound rang out together with this roar. This sound was even more intense than thunder. Dragon might spread out as if it could shatter mountains and rivers for 5,000 kilometers around. Blood leaked out of the ice tiger's ears, nose, and mouth 5 meters in front. Then it fell over powerlessly. In the next moment, a strong wind blew, and all the towering trees within 500 meters exploded from the tree trunks. Along with the soil, the trees splashed out. The sky was filled with broken tree trunks, dancing in the air. The ice tiger on the ground was not dead yet. Its limbs twitched continuously. Blood flowed out of the corner of its mouth, and its eyes were wide open. Xiao Chun bent over and placed his right hand on the ice tiger's back. Then he sent out a strand of spiritual scent to check carefully. After a while, Xiao Chun revealed a dissatisfied expression. The ice tiger's internal organs did not shatter. Only a crack appeared. At such a close distance, Xiao Chun executed the dragon tone art and still could not kill a rank 7 spirit beast instantly. It had to be said that there were many areas that Xiao Chun needed to strengthen. Chapter 732. Xiao Chun looked around and measured the distance. Then he said softly, 500 meters. This is much larger than a few days ago. Continue working hard. First, expand the range to 1 kilometer. Then, practice the angle of the sound wave. As for how to bring out the dragon might in the sound wave, Xiao Chun still needed to practice continuously. Leaping up, Xiao Chun vanished into the night, continuing his search for his next prey. The spirit beasts in the periphery of the savage beast forest were not very strong. The strongest were rank 8 spirit beasts. Xiao Chun could move about without fear here, cultivating the dragon tone art without any fear. Of course, if he was unlucky, he might run into a strong spirit beast from the inner area or other adventuring cultivators. That would be a different story. The mysterious roar resounded in the quiet night again, disturbing the spirit beasts and the nocturnal cultivators. That sound was like the roar of a true dragon, as startling as a clap of thunder. Several spirit beasts fled, and the periphery of the savage beast forest fell into chaos. Only when the sky brightened did the sound vanish. The chaotic situation slowly calmed down. However, several cultivators had already made up their minds not to come to the savage beast forest for the time being. Xiao Chun did not know that he had caused such a huge commotion. He sat cross-legged on a thick tree trunk, circulating his energy to recover his exhausted quintessence. Xiao Chen's thoughts were not idle, either. He carefully comprehended the results of last night's cultivation. When a beam of sunlight pierced through the dense foliage and landed on Xiao Chun, he slowly opened his eyes. A purple light flickered in the depths of his eyes. Xiao Chun stood up and spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. He felt refreshed. The fatigue from the previous night swept away. Perhaps I have been too superficial. Since the dragon tone art specifically counters mental energy martial techniques, the intimidation of the sound wave should not be my main focus. Last night, Xiao Chun tested it many times and discovered that no matter how much quintessence he exhausted, it was difficult to increase the dragon tone art's offensive power. The moment Xiao Chun thought of this, it was like a beam of light suddenly lit up in his mind. Several of his thoughts connected. That's right, the dragon tone art should use quintessential essence as a supplement and mental energy as the main. The true dragon's voice had to enter the other party's sea of consciousness to achieve its greatest might. Since it countered mental energy martial techniques, how could it rely on quintessence? It had to bring along mental energy as well. The cultivation of the purple thunder divine incantation caused Xiao Chun's mental energy to be much higher than that of an ordinary person. If it was as Xiao Chun thought, he would not be able to break through the heavenly thunder divine incantation. In his hands, the dragon tone art would definitely be able to display a might that far surpassed that of his predecessors. Thinking of this, Xiao Chun jumped down from the tree. Soon, he found an ordinary rank 7 lightning ox and circulated the dragon tone art. At the same time, the mental energy in his sea of consciousness began to boil. Xiao Chun squinted his eyes and let out a furious roar, uttering the voice of a true dragon. The mental energy in his sea of consciousness was reduced by 30% in an instant. The dragon's might in the sound wave rose infinitely in an instant, as if there was a real blue dragon roaring. Buzz! The lightning ox charging at Xiao Chun felt a jolt in its mind, as if it had been struck by lightning. Then it fell over. Xiao Chun quickly leaped over and arrived before the lightning ox. When he looked carefully, he discovered that the lightning ox's life force was still strong. However, its eyes were lifeless, and its body trembled. For now, it did not have any combat prowess, waiting to be slaughtered. Xiao Chun's face lit up in joy. He smiled and said, "Indeed, it is like that. When comparing spirit beasts to cultivators, the greatest advantage is their physical bodies. In the future, when I meet strong spirit beasts, I will have an additional means to protect myself. However, I wonder how effective it will be on cultivators. When cultivators advanced to martial monarch, they would open their sea of consciousness. Their mental energy was not something that spirit beasts could compare to. It would be difficult to achieve such an effect on cultivators." Seeing that the lightning ox seemed to have recovered, Xiao Chun circulated his quintessence and sent out a strand of purple saber qi, chopping off its head. After sorting out his emotions, Xiao Chun continued on his way. His destination was clear. He headed west. Just like that, Xiao Chun traveled during the day and cultivated the dragon tone art at night. Occasionally, he executed the blue dragon drawing the saber painting, comprehending the dragon's Gate Qing Emperor's drawing the saber painting. As the days went by, Xiao Chun became increasingly familiar with the dragon tone art. He also discovered 72 different directions for the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber. The more Xiao Chun delved into that mysterious painting, the more astonished he felt. No matter how he thought about it, there would always be an unexpected saber strike that would kill him. 1 month later, Xiao Chun calculated the distance he had traveled. He had already left several large provinces behind. As for himself, he was already deep in the inner area of the savage beast forest. The weakest spirit beasts in the inner area were peak rank 8, comparable to late-stage, superior-grade martial monarchs. Occasionally, Xiao Chun would run into a few rank 9 spirit beasts. When he ran into such spirit beasts, Xiao Chun's dragon tone art would not be very effective. He could only stay far away to avoid trouble. Xiao Chun moved cautiously along the way. Fortunately, Xiao Chun was safe and sound. In reality, as long as he did not run into the rare rank 10 spirit beasts, Xiao Chun would be able to leave easily. After all, No matter how powerful a rank 9 spirit beast was, it could not be stronger than Bai Wuxue. Now, even Bai Wuxue could not stop Xiao Chun, much less a rank 9 spirit beast. After entering the inner area, the number of cultivators that Xiao Chun could run into decreased. However, when he occasionally ran into cultivators who were adventuring, he would be on high alert. The cultivators who dared to venture into the inner area could not be underestimated. Furthermore, the human heart was sinister. Human cultivators were far more terrifying than spirit beasts. Fortunately, Xiao Chun was not weak. Others would not be able to see through him. Furthermore, he did not have any treasures on him, so he did not have to fight with human cultivators. On this particular day, as Xiao Chun was walking on a small path in the forest, he suddenly heard panicked footsteps in front of him. Along with the footsteps were ragged breathing. When Xiao Chun heard the sounds, he guessed that someone was being chased. Furthermore, the situation did not look good. Not wanting to cause any trouble, Xiao Chun pushed off the ground and hid behind a towering tree. Indeed, as Xiao Chun expected, a young man covered in wounds appeared before him. His robes were stained with blood, and he held a sword in his hand. This young swordsman seemed to be an early-stage, inferior-grade martial monarch. Xiao Chun could not understand how someone with such strength could appear in the inner area of the savage beast forest. This was no different from suicide. Behind this young swordsman were 5 black-clothed swordsmen with the same emblem on their chests. They chased him closely, not letting him go. Pu Ci, the young swordsman, was too severely injured. When he saw his pursuers getting closer, he panicked and tripped over a tree branch, falling to the ground. The 5 black-clothed swordsmen laughed maniacally. Their figures flashed, and they surrounded the young swordsman in an instant. Situ Feng, do you think that we will not dare to chase you after you ran into the inner area of the savage beast forest? The leader of the 5 black-clothed swordsmen said coldly. The young swordsman's eyes were filled with horror. He quickly climbed to his feet, and his right hand, which held his sword, trembled. Under such circumstances, the young swordsman knew that he would lose his life here. It would be difficult for him to survive. You are too much. I'll fight out with you. Knowing that he would not be able to escape death, the fear in the young swordsman's eyes vanished. He ferociously charged over, prepared to die, and started fighting with the leader of the swordsmen. Electric light leaped around Situ Feng's sword. As the sword light danced, thunder roared faintly. The combination of the state of the sword technique was rather exquisite. Perhaps the explosive power of Situ Feng's death was too scary, but the 5 black-clothed swordsmen did not want to get injured by a dying person. The 5 black-clothed swordsmen had mocking gazes as they slowly drained Situ Feng's final bit of quintessence. Xiao Chun only took one look and could not be bothered to continue watching. Both sides were only inferior-grade martial monarchs. Such a battle could not interest Xiao Chun at all. Furthermore, Xiao Chun was not so compassionate as to save a stranger when he did not know the situation. Xiao Chun, don't leave yet. Save that swordsman first. Just as Xiao Chun raised his foot, Ao Jiao's voice rang out in the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chun had no choice but to change his mind. Situ Feng was already severely injured. How could his final burst of power last? Soon, before the mocking gazes of the 5 black-clothed swordsmen, Situ Feng's aura plummeted. Situ Feng's legs trembled, and the electric light on his sword disappeared. With one look, it was clear that his quintessence was completely drained. Kill him, the leading black-clothed swordsman said to the 4 behind him with a cold smile. 4 strands of sword light containing boundless killing chi headed for Situ Feng's body coldly, trying to chop him into 4 pieces. Situ Feng closed his eyes in despair. His heart was filled with regret. If he had not been greedy, he would not have ended up in such a state. Without his life, glory, splendor, wealth, and rank would be useless. Bang! 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 Fist winds howled, and 4 miserable cries rang out. Situ Feng opened his eyes and was startled to see what happened. The 4 black-clothed swordsmen flying at him all vomited a large mouthful of blood and went flying back. their faces contorted in incredible pain. At some point in time, a white-robed cultivator had appeared before Situ Feng, staring coldly at him. The leading black-clothed swordsman revealed a startled expression. As he looked at Xiao Chun, he felt somewhat unfathomable. Xiao Chun's cultivation was not much higher than his. However, when Xiao Chun attacked, he injured 4 inferior-grade martial monarchs, rendering them completely defenseless. The black-clothed swordsman tried to recall all the experts in Hunluo province. However, he could not find a match for this person. He could not help but feel suspicious. "Who are you? Why are you obstructing our Azure Peak City's Lu clan?" The black-clothed swordsman asked sullenly. Xiao Chun calmly lowered his hands and looked up at the other party. He said, "Who I am is none of your concern. You cannot kill this person now." Xiao Chun felt somewhat surprised. He had used a lightning-quick move to force the other party to retreat. After all, this place was close to Hunluo province's territory. If he offended a large faction, it would not be good to invite trouble for himself. However, that black-clothed swordsman did not retreat. Instead, he reported his clan. Could it be that the nearby Lu clan was a large faction? The black-clothed swordsman thought quickly. Xiao Chun defeated 4 inferior-grade martial monarchs in an instant. He was not a match for Xiao Chun. However, the first young master was rushing over with his men. If the black-clothed swordsman could delay this person, given the first young master's strength, he would definitely be able to block this person. Furthermore, Situ Feng knew the Lu clan's great secret. He had to die. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. Chapter 733. After the black-clad swordsman made up his mind, he wanted to charge forward and delay Xiao Chun. However, at this moment, a saber suddenly appeared in Xiao Chun's left hand. He placed his right hand on the saber and leaned forward slightly. In an instant, a boundless killing intent surged out. The black-clad swordsman felt like there were many eyes in the air, looking at him coldly and expressionlessly. This startled the black-clad swordsman. He quickly stopped, not daring to charge forward. "Damn it, what's going on? It is clearly just a starting stance. Why am I so afraid?" The black-clad swordsman's eyes were filled with horror. He could not help but want to retreat. "Xiao!" A saber light flashed, and the black-clad swordsman quickly swung his sword to block. However, he missed. Xiao Chun appeared at the black-clad swordsman's side, and blood spurted out. Xiao Chun had chopped off the black-clad swordsman's left arm. The black-clad swordsman cried out in pain. His complexion was as pale as paper as he retreated continuously. The 4 black-clad swordsmen lying on the ground felt confused. They had seen everything clearly. Xiao Chun's saber strike looked very ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Why did Big Brother not block it? This was the first time Xiao Chun used the starting stance of Qing Emperor, drawing the saber in actual combat. The effect was pretty good. Right now, the instant Xiao Chun drew his saber, he could move in 16 different directions. Against an opponent 1 grade lower, he could defeat them in an instant. Situ Feng's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the scene before him. An early-stage medial-grade martial monarch actually lost so easily. Who exactly is this person before me? I have never heard of such a powerful white-robed bladesman in Clearwind City. No, Hunluo province. Let's go. Before Situ Feng could recover from his shock, he felt his body lighten. Then, he was carried into the air by Xiao Chun. The wind blew by Situ Feng's ears. As they flew, Situ Feng's mind was filled with questions, but he could not voice them. After flying for a long time, Xiao Chun slowly landed. Situ Feng stood firmly and immediately said, "Many thanks, friend, for saving my life. Would you tell me your great name?" After narrowly escaping death, Situ Feng could not help the joy in his eyes. When Xiao Chun interacted with strangers, he always kept his guard up. He did not say much and directly asked Ao Jiao's question from the Immortal Spirit Ring. "Where did you learn your sword techniques?" Situ Feng was slightly stunned. After he reacted, he said, "I learned my sword techniques from the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. I was once an outer sect disciple there. After failing to become an inner sect disciple several times, I returned to my clan in Clearwind City. What exactly are the origins of this person's sword techniques? You only took one look, and you want me to save him? Xiao Chun asked out of curiosity. Ao, Jiao replied softly. That is the Thunder Light Fleeing Shadows sword that the Thunder King comprehended himself when he was young. He has never taught it to anyone. I'm just curious as to how he learned it. Naturally, Sidu Feng could not hear the conversation between the two. He bandaged his wounds and looked at Xiao Chun. Friend, you probably offended the Lu clan by saving me. How about returning to the Situ clan with me? Is the Lu clan very strong? Xiao Chun asked interestedly. Sidu Feng had forgotten that Xiao Chun was an outsider, so he told him about this place in detail. This savage beast forest was already very close to Hunluo province. The nearest city was Clearwind City, a medium-sized city in Hunluo province. There were two major factions in the city. One was the Lu clan, and the other was their Situ clan. The two clans were like fire and water, fighting each other for many years. The clan heads of the two clans were half-sages. Although they had been fighting each other for many years, their strengths were equal. Neither could do anything to the other. Since the clan head was only a half-sage, Xiao Chun relaxed. He rejected, there is no need. I'll send you to the periphery of the forest and leave on my own. Situ Feng exclaimed in shock. Their clan head is currently in this savage beast forest. If they discover you, you will not be able to escape death. In Situ Feng's opinion, although Xiao Chun was strong, he was only a late-stage superior-grade martial monarch at best. If a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch came, things would not be good. If Xiao Chun ran into a half-sage, there would be no chance of survival. He could only rely on the Situ clan to survive. Xiao Chun shook his head and rejected this person's invitation. This person had not said why the Lu clan was after him. Clearly, he did not trust Xiao Chun. At this moment, Sidu Feng was clearly trying to rope Xiao Chun in. He wanted to use Xiao Chun and the Lu clan to tie him to the Situ clan's war chariot. Seeing that Xiao Chun had rejected his invitations several times, Situ Feng's attitude turned cold, and he did not say anything more. We've arrived. Take care of yourself. After leaving the inner area of the savage beast forest, Xiao Chun looked around. After he discovered that there was no danger, he planned to leave. Sidu Feng looked around and thought for a moment. He said, Friend, there is a stronghold of my Situ clan not far from here. How about you send me there? At that time, our clan head will reward you greatly. At this moment, I have not recovered from my injuries. Any spirit beast would be able to take my life immediately. I will be completely safe once I reach the stronghold. Sidu Feng had already sent a hummingbird to the Situ clan about what he discovered. The clan head would definitely be alerted and bring all the experts over. At that time, when the Situ clan fought with the Lu clan, an additional person would increase their chances of victory. With Xiao Chen's strength, he was definitely worth roping in. If Sidu Feng could accomplish this, in addition to his earlier contributions, the clan head would reward him greatly. Xiao Chun thought for a while before saying, It doesn't matter. You lead the way. I don't want to walk too much. Situ Feng rejoiced in his heart. He quickly led the way to the Situ clan stronghold. The two of them moved quickly in the dense forest. Occasionally, spirit beasts would appear. Xiao Chun released his aura and scared them away. He did not delay at all. Soon, a heavily guarded stronghold appeared before the two of them. Two Situ clan cultivators descended from the treetops. Sidu Feng revealed a smile and quickly went forward. He whispered a few words to them, and the two cultivators gave Xiao Chun a deep look before returning to the stronghold. When Xiao Chun saw this, he did not want to waste any more time. He said, Goodbye. You're already completely safe. Friend, don't be in such a rush to leave. Seeing that Xiao Chun still wanted to leave, Situ Feng grabbed him by the wrist. He said somewhat anxiously, Clan head, they will be out soon. There will be a great gift for you later. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. His body moved slightly, and he shook off Situ Feng's grip. Haha, this friend is the young hero who killed the Lu clan cultivators. Carefree laughter resounded. The many cultivators of the stronghold's entrance clustered around a dignified, gray-robed old man as he walked quickly toward Xiao Chun. Situ Feng's face lit up with joy. He quickly went forward and whispered a few words into the gray-robed old man's ear. The gray-robed old man looked at Xiao Chun with an increasingly grave expression. He waved his hand, indicating for Situ Feng to step back. A faint smile appeared on his aged face. This brother looks unfamiliar. You must be from somewhere else. Speak, what reward do you want? Since you saved my Situ clan's people, I, Situ Lei, will definitely not mistreat you. The gray-robed old man stepped forward and spoke to Xiao Chun. His tone was very imposing. However, Xiao Chun noticed that the Situ clan experts behind the gray-robed old man had already spread out, forming a fan shape. The formation they stood in was very ingenious. As long as Xiao Chun made any strange movements, this group of people would immediately seal off Xiao Chun's path of retreat and surround and kill him. Xiao Chun's expression did not change. He held the lunar shadow saber in his left hand and casually took a step forward. His entire body formed a strange stance. Instantly, all the cultivators who had spread out in a fan-shaped formation felt that Xiao Chun was staring at them. Clearly, there was only one person and one pair of eyes. However, the stance he formed was very strange. It was like he could instantly draw his saber and chop down everyone. Old Sir is right. I am indeed from somewhere else. However, I was just passing by this place. Saving people is just something I did in passing. There is no need for any reward. Xiao Chun's expression did not change at all. When facing this half-sage Situ Lei, he did not show any fear at all. A boundless light flashed in the depths of Situ Lei's aged eyes. He wanted to see through this white-robed bladesman before him. This brat is clearly only a peak medial grade martial sage. Why is he not showing any fear before this old man? What trump card does he have for him to be so confident? Situ Lei did not show any dissatisfaction on his face. He smiled and said, "Young hero is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. This old man admires you. Since there is no need for any reward, let's have a drink in the fort. No matter what, we should have a good chat." A wily old fox was indeed a wily old fox. Situ Feng's careless and crude performance was laughable when compared to the unfathomable Situ Lei. Xiao Chun performed a cup fist salute and said, "There is no need. I am in a rush, so I'll take my leave first." When Situ Lei heard this, his expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "Take care. I will not send you off." However, Situ Lei made a gesture with his hand behind his back. That was the Situ clan's order to surround and kill Xiao Chun. Once the gesture was completed, it would be the order. The Situ clan cultivators would mercilessly attack Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun's spiritual sense clearly captured the movements of this person behind his back. Without waiting for Situ Lei's gesture, Xiao Chun took the initiative to make his move. As Xiao Chun lowered his cupped hands, he placed his right hand on his saber's hilt. The Qing Emperor's drawing the saber was ready. The cultivators who had spread out in a fan shape all felt a strand of saber light flying at them. Wong! The 10-odd people quickly drew their weapons and dodged to the left and right. The originally perfect encirclement immediately turned chaotic. Xiao Chun released his hand and withdrew his killing chi. His lips curled up as he smiled and said, "I'm sorry, old sir. I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. I think the hand behind old sir's back was also a joke, right?" Situ Lei had only completed half of the gesture behind his back. Before he could complete it, something unexpected happened. Situ Lei could not help but feel startled. However, his expression did not change. Situ Lei quickly withdrew his hand and extended it to Xiao Chun. As if nothing had happened, he laughed loudly and said, "Indeed, heroes come from a youth. Little brother's courage is admirable." Xiao Chun took 2 steps back and calmly turned around. Then, he left under the unfriendly gazes of the group of superior-grade martial monarchs. After moving a kilometer away, Xiao Chun revealed an expression of luck on his calm face that had been very dangerous earlier. 1 half-sage, 10-odd superior-grade martial monarchs, and more than 100 medial-grade and inferior-grade martial monarchs. If Xiao Chun had really attacked, he would not have been able to leave without paying a heavy price. Chapter 734. However, it was still fine. Sidu Lei feared Xiao Chen's strength and did not dare to take risks, fearing that he would suffer too many losses. The people of the Situ clan are all bad people. You saved that person, yet they still treat you like this, Ao Jiao said angrily from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then he said, logically speaking, they do not know that I have a treasure on me and that I am just passing by. Not only do I not have any grudges with them, but they also owe me a favor. They should not have reacted like that. Ao Jiao's eyes wandered, and she revealed an expression of understanding on her delicate face. She said, you mean to say that there is something fishy about this? Xiao Chun leaped onto a tree branch beside him and silently extended his spiritual sense back. He nodded and said, there is definitely something strange about this. I want to see what exactly is going on. At the gates of a stronghold, Situ Feng felt surprised. He asked, Clan Head, why are we just letting him go? This person is very strong and cannot be of use to us. He will be a source of trouble and disrupt our plans. At this moment, Situ Lei's expression had already turned completely sullen, looking extremely terrifying. He looked coldly at the surrounding people and said, so what if we do not let him go? The encirclement is already broken. It will be too difficult to keep him here. We might as well let him go, lest we gain another enemy. I do not want anything unexpected to happen while we are fighting for the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. When Situ Feng heard this, he was greatly startled. Is that white-robed bladesman really that horrifying? Even the clan head said that it would be difficult to keep him here. However, it is not safe to just let him go. This person's origins are unknown. It is hard to say that he is not here for the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, an old man beside Situ Feng said worriedly. An old man said worriedly. This old man had a profound cultivation, and he was only a step away from the half-saint realm. He was the great elder of the Situ clan. Situ Lei looked into the distance and said coldly, naturally, we have to be on guard. Find 2 people who are good at tracking and have them follow him from afar. See if he is really just passing by. If he is not, we have to spend a lot of effort to kill him. The Liu clan's people are already having a headache. I will not allow anyone to fish in troubled waters. The voice was bone-chilling and emotionless, devoid of any warmth. Xiao Chun, who was on the tree branch, withdrew his spiritual sense and suddenly understood. He muttered, so that is how it is. The white nascent fruit had similar effects to the earth essence fruit. It could increase a cultivator's cultivation without any side effects. However, normally, the peak white nascent fruit could only live for 500 years. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was extremely rare. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a mutated fruit. Its effects could even tempt martial sages. If the clan obtained it and gave it to the Situ clan to break through to half-sage, the martial sage Xiao would not be. 1 half-sage was equivalent to 50 superior-grade martial monarchs. In that case, the balance between the Situ clan and the Liu clan of Azure Peak City would be broken. No matter who, the Tian, the other clan would. The clan would be, and would be, and would. Chun, Lei would be, Chun. Hey, trash master, you can't be thinking of something, right? You have to think clearly. With the strength of the 2 families added together, it's impossible for us to win. Chun Yu Chun Chun to say. Chun, Chun, A. Chun, Chun, Chun. When Ao Jiao saw that Xiao Chun was tempted, she reminded him. Xiao Chun said softly, I do have such intentions. To break through to superior-grade martial monarch, I would need at least 200 medial-grade spirit gathering pearls. That is an astronomical sum. This 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit is practically made for me. Ao Jiao continued to advise. However, it is too difficult to snatch food from the tiger's mouth from 2 half-sages. Furthermore, they have a group of martial monarch experts behind them. Xiao Chen leaped down from the tree branch and said calmly, I know my limits. There are strong and weak half-sages. Clearly, these 2 are much weaker than Bai Wuxue and the others. The most important thing is that these two are not united. Given that, I have a good chance. Shwa, shwa. Soft footsteps resounded. Xiao Chan scanned the area with his spiritual sense and saw two black-clad men sneaking around. They stuck to a tree 500 meters away, watching him carefully. The two black-clad men withdrew their auras. They were like a rock, showing no signs of life force as they stuck to the tree. Their concealment skills were very impressive. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was much stronger than the mental energy that regular cultivators use to sense. At such a close distance, Xiao Chen could not keep any secrets from them. After withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. There did not seem to be anything wrong with him. However, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The stronghold of Azure Peak City's Lu clan in the Savage Beast Forest was also a heavily guarded mountain stronghold with many experts. There were many wooden houses in the mountain stronghold. The guard were stationed every 5 steps and 10 steps. Everyone had a tense expression on their faces. The Lu clan's upper echelon gathered in one of the wooden houses, anxiously discussing countermeasures. The rectangular mahogany table was filled with the elders of the Lu clan. Behind the tables and chairs stood a crowd of cultivators. For the sake of the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, the Lu clan sent out all its elites. Even the weakest Lu clan disciple here was a medial-grade martial monarch. Seated at the top of the mahogany table was an old man dressed in a black brocade robe. He had a dignified expression on his face. He was the Lu clan's patriarch, Lu Chun. Beside him stood a young man. This was Lu En's eldest son, Lu En's. He was already a peak superior grade martial monarch. If Lu En's obtained the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, he would use it to break through to half-sage. Patriarch, this subordinate is incompetent and allowed Situ Feng to escape in the end. The black-clothed swordsman, who only had his right arm left, knelt on the ground, not daring to get up. Lu Chan said expressionlessly, "Get up. It does not matter whether you catch him or not." After he discovered our goal, he immediately used a hummingbird to send the news to that old man, Situ Lei. An old man on his right said helplessly, "Our scouts have reported. Situ Lei has already led all the experts of the clan to the gathering point in the Savage Beast Forest. It looks like it will be even more difficult to pick the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit this time." It was impossible for there to be no spirit beasts guarding the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. When it fully ripened, it might even attract spirit beasts from far away. Trying to obtain the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit from among these spirit beasts was already difficult enough. Now, with the addition of the Situ clan, the number of variables had increased significantly. Lu Chun could not help but worry. A ferocious light appeared in Lu Chen's eyes. No one dared to look at him directly. He said coldly, "There can only be one clan in Azure Peak City. This old man has had enough of that old man, Situ Lei. Since he dares to come, this is a good opportunity to destroy him." A strange light appeared in Lu En's eyes. He said, "Father, a mysterious white-robed bladesman saved Situ Feng. That white-robed bladesman easily injured 5 martial monarchs. We have to guard against him." Hatred flashed in the eyes of the one-armed black-clothed swordsman. He said, "Indeed, clan head, that person has a strange background and is very strong. If the Situ clan supports the Situ clan when the white nascent fruit ripens, it will be very disadvantageous for us." The Situ clan and the Lu clan were evenly matched. If one side received help, the balance would be broken. This person was not lying. And bring some people to investigate. If it is just a passing cultivator, then forget about it. This is a critical period. Do not complicate matters, Lu Chan said after thinking for a while. The one-armed black-clothed swordsman said anxiously, "Clan head, he injured a cultivator of my Lu clan and chopped off one of my arms. How can we just let this go?" Lu Chen's gaze turned cold as he looked at the one-armed black-clothed swordsman. He said in a frosty voice, "You piece of trash. Not only did you let someone leak the news, but you even dare to question my decision?" The one-armed black-clothed swordsman's heart skipped a beat. When he felt Lu Chen's killing chi, his body trembled, and he did not dare to say anything more. As dusk approached, Xiao Chun found an empty space and started a fire. Then, he started to roast some spirit beast meat that he had hunted. The two scouts of the Situ clan silently hid in a tree 500 meters away. They withdrew their auras and only used their peripheral vision to observe Xiao Chun. They were very careful and cautious, afraid of attracting Xiao Chen's attention. Speaking of which, Ao Jiao, what is the relationship between that eternal heavenly sword school and the Thunder King? Why does he have the Thunder Light fleeing shadow sword? If Situ Feng had not used this sword technique, Xiao Chun would have left long ago. It would be a lie to say that he was not curious. Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, felt very suspicious as well. Her delicate face filled with confusion. She said softly, "I don't know. I don't recall the Thunder King establishing his own sect." Crunch, crunch. The golden beef of the golden savage ox, which had been picked up by a tree branch, gave off crunching sounds as the flames roasted it. The surface of the beef cracked open, and golden oil flowed out. The aroma of the beef whetted one's appetite. Xiao Chun twirled the tree branch in a practiced manner. As he looked at the golden beef, he asked, since he did not establish a sect, did the Thunder King leave behind any secret manuals? Ao Jiao replied without hesitation. He did leave behind secret manuals. However, I am sure that no one else obtained them. There is no possibility of them leaking out. Then, did he have any disciples? If he did, it would not be surprising if they leaked out, Xiao Chun continued asking. Ao Jiao shook her head and said, Sang Mu has always been a loner. He did not even have many friends. How could he have a disciple? There are no secret manuals or inheritors. However, 2,000 years later, when Ao Jiao came to the Kunlun realm again, she saw the Thunder King's Thunder Light fleeing Shadow's sword. This was indeed strange. The golden beef was already cooked. Xiao Chen tore off a piece of beef and enjoyed the delicacy. Then, he took out a flask of wine from the universe ring and drank it. Xiao Chen sat by the bonfire and ate large chunks of meat, feeling very carefree. After the meat and wine were done, Xiao Chun stood up and stretched his body. Then, he held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and said softly, Actually, we will know the truth after we make a trip to the eternal heavenly sword school. Of course, that is on the premise that I can survive and obtain the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he quickly turned around and instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. The resplendent saber light instantly lit up the dark forest. 500 meters away, the tree hiding the two Situ clan cultivators exploded. The two Situ clan cultivators were completely exposed to Xiao Chun. Let's go. This person discovered us long ago. The two Situ clan cultivators were greatly startled. Without saying anything else, they split up and ran. Xiao Chun looked at the Situ clan cultivator on the left and smiled faintly. He pushed off the ground, and an azure dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him into the air. The two scouts were good at hiding and tracking. Their cultivations were not high. They were only early-stage inferior grade martial monarchs. How could they be a match for Xiao Chun? Chapter 735. Even if Xiao Chun used only half his strength, he could easily kill two people. The dragon image moved up and down, and Xiao Chun instantly caught up to that person. Xiao Chun did not waste any words. He infused his vast, lightning-attributed quintessence into his saber and killed that person in one strike. The blood on the saber exploded into a red mist by the electric light. When spread out, a red light spread out. Xiao Chun narrowed his eyes and peered through the red light. Then, he started to chase after the remaining person. When that person heard his companion's miserable scream, he paled in fright. He died in one exchange. Who exactly was the person the clan head told them to follow? Blue Dragon Tail Whip. A strong wind blew, and Xiao Chen's body moved in an arc. He passed by many towering trees, bringing with him a strong gust of wind. With a so sound, he suddenly appeared in front of that person. That person quickly ran away. Xiao Chen's casual kick carried 500 tons of force. Everywhere it passed, space trembled. Bang! Xiao Qin's foot landed on that person's chest at lightning speed, breaking his sternum. The force surged through his body, rupturing his internal organs. That person vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back with a pained expression. His back crashed into a tree, and he could not help but vomit another mouthful of blood. Xiao Qin sheathed his saber and walked over calmly. As his footsteps got closer, that person's eyes filled with boundless despair and pain. "Let me ask you a question. If you want to live, tell me the truth," Xiao Qin said indifferently as he looked at the other party, not showing any emotion at all. Xiao Qin's overwhelming strength and unparalleled sharpness caused this person's mind to be in chaos. He did not dare to disobey. "What question?" that person asked in a quivering voice as he leaned against the tree. Xiao Qin looked coldly at the other party and said, "Tell me everything you know about the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Tell me everything in detail." That person's heart skipped a beat. He instinctively wanted to quibble, so he said, "I don't bang." Before Xiao Qin could say that he knew, he kicked this person's chest again. The powerful force caused the tree behind this person to break apart with a loud boom. His body was sent flying backwards. After landing on the ground, the man rolled on the ground. His internal organs were all damaged, and his sternum was broken. His face was pale, without any trace of blood. Xiao Qin stepped forward and said calmly, "Even if you don't tell me, I can find out from others. Now, I will ask you again. Are you going to tell me or not?" Seeing Xiao Qin's decisiveness, that person had a pained expression as he looked at Xiao Qin in fear. Not daring to hesitate any longer, he said, I'll talk. I'll tell you everything, just don't kill me." After listening to the other party's story, Xiao Qin had a thorough understanding of the matter. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit needed another 7 days to ripen. This was the reason why the two clans did not rush to make a move. There's also a rank 9 spirit beast guarding the white nascent fruit. When it ripened, it would attract even more strong spirit beasts. "Give me a message to Sidolei. Tell him that he went back on his word. I am very angry." After saying that, Xiao Qin gently pushed off the ground and quickly left this place. "Are you really not afraid of him snitching? Are you really going to let him go?" Ao Jiao asked, feeling it was strange. If Situ Lei found out that Xiao Qin wanted the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, he would be seeking trouble for himself. Xiao Qin had a calm expression. He smiled and said, "Since I made a promise, there is no need to kill him. Furthermore, if he returns alive, he might even be able to help me." Situ Lei is a shrewd person with age. He is suspicious and cautious. This is a matter of life and death for his clan. He will be even more careful. From his Situ clan cultivators, Xiao Qin already knew where the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was. It was on a small slope near the savage beast forest. Without needing to think too much, Xiao Qin could guess that the Situ clan and Lu clan cultivators were near the slope. It would be irrational for him to go there now. After all, there were still 7 more days before the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit ripened. There was no rush. After muttering to himself for a while, Xiao Qin took out the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber from the universe ring and slowly unfurled it. When the painting was completely unfurled, it gently drifted over and hovered in front of Xiao Qin. The might of the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber in actual combat was extraordinary. Xiao Qin had experienced it firsthand. This was just a superficial understanding of it, and it already had such combat prowess. If it improved further, it would be even more incredible. Xiao Qin's interest in this mysterious painting deepened. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Qin looked at the person in the painting. The person in the painting wore blue dragon battle robes. His long hair fluttered wildly, and his appearance was delicate and handsome. If others looked carefully, they would discover that Xiao Qin looked very similar to this person. However, his eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if they were ancient. It was unknown how many years this person had experienced for such a deep gaze. "Xiao!" A saber light flashed, and the person in the painting suddenly moved. However, it was not clear whether the saber moved first or the person moved first. Xiao Qin had seen the trajectory of this saber before. Although he could not clearly see the other party's figure, based on his vague perception, Xiao Chun quickly drew his saber and blocked this saber. To others, Xiao Chun did not move at all, as if he was meditating. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen's mental state fluctuated intensely. This battle was even more intense than the one with Bai Wuxue, exhausting his mental state by several times. After 10 seconds, Xiao Chen's complexion paled, and he took 10 steps back. After a while, the horror in his eyes slowly disappeared. 10 seconds. I finally managed to block 32 saber strikes. I also discovered 2 different trajectories of the saber strikes. Xiao Chen put away the painting and closed his eyes. Then, he started to comprehend the intense mental state battle. Time passed slowly. At some point in time, Xiao Chen's hand had already grasped the saber hilt at his waist, forming a strange stance. Many illusionary figures leaped out of Xiao Chen's body, hacking at the towering trees in front. All sorts of scenes appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. Saber lights danced around and electric light shot out. Each figure had a different trajectory of the saber strike. The saber lights chopped the trees in half in Xiao Chen's mind. Leaves flew everywhere, and strong winds blew. When the 34 figures leaped out, Xiao Chun opened his eyes in appropriate time. His aura blended in with the surroundings. Xiao Chen clearly only had a pair of eyes, but he locked on all 34 trees in front, unable to distinguish which were real or fake. Xiao, following the feeling in his heart, Xiao Chun naturally drew the saber in his hand. The saber light was resplendent and dazzling. In the dark night, it was like a blazing sun shining brightly. Kassier, Kassier. The 34 trees in front were instantly chopped in half at the waist. Rows of trees fell with a loud rumble. The remaining tree trunks were all of different heights and gaps. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, he could not help but rejoice. It turned out that the saber could really be drawn like this. If it was just the instant the saber was drawn, one could split the saber chi into 34 parts. Although such a technique was difficult, it was still possible for an expert bladesman of the younger generation to do it. However, to achieve a different trajectory, position, and strength for each strand of saber chi, aside from a true Grandmaster level senior, no one else in the younger generation could do it. First, young master, there is some movement over there. Let's go over and take a look. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's sharp ears picked up footsteps and the voices of cultivators. He could not help but frown slightly. Xiao Chen scanned with his spiritual sense and discovered 8 superior grade martial monarchs of the Liu clan 3 kilometers away. Under the leadership of a young man, they were rushing over here at high speed. Saber lights danced around, chopping the trees in front into pieces. Then, Xiao Chen wiped away the traces of his training. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and withdrew his aura, hiding in a nearby tree. Dong, dong, dong. The footsteps drew closer. The people led by Lu Enz appeared at the place where Xiao Chen had practiced his saber. Lu Enz casually looked around. The trees in front had been chopped into pieces by the saber chi. Then he closed his eyes and sensed the remnant lightning-attributed quintessence in the air. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, "Look around. They look similar to the target. They are lightning-attributed bladesmen." After discovering them, sound the alarm immediately. The one-armed black-clad swordsman followed beside Lu Enz and did not leave with the others. The black-clad swordsman was not strong in the first place. Now that he had lost an arm, his combat prowess decreased even more. Lu Enz brought the black-clad swordsman mainly because he wanted the black-clad swordsman to help him identify the target. Lu Enz held his sword and asked interestedly, "Lu Hua, how strong is that white robe bladesman? Tell me objectively." Hatred flashed in Lu Hua's eyes. When he recalled Xiao Chen's attack, he could not help but reveal an expression of horror. Very strong. His cultivation is not high, but his saber techniques are very strange. I clearly judged the trajectory of his saber. However, I still missed when I was about to attack. Lu En's lips curled up in a smile. He said, "Changing moves at the last minute? It looks like he is a bladesman with sharp eyes and extremely fast attacks." When Lu Hua heard this, He hesitated for a while. Then he said, "First young master." He was indeed very fast. However, this subordinate felt that he did not change his move at the last minute. Lu En's expression turned grave. He could not understand. He said, "Since you already judged the trajectory of his saber, and he did not change his move at the last minute, logically speaking, you should have been able to receive that saber strike." Lu Hua could tell that Lu En's suspected that his judgment was wrong, that he had been fooled by a feint. He quickly denied it. "First young master, I dare say that this subordinate's judgment was correct." Lu En's glanced at Lu Hua's mutilated arm and smiled in disdain. However, he did not say anything. So. After the 8 superior grade martial monarchs who went out to search failed to find anything, they shot back like arrows and landed before Lu En's. Reporting to First Young Master, "We did not find that person," the black-clad men reported in unison. They looked at Lu En's, showing their absolute loyalty. They should be death-sworn soldiers trained by the Lu clan. Xiao Chun, who had already hidden himself in the tree, heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. He was not afraid of these 8 people. Instead, he was afraid of being discovered and exposing his strength. Before the white nascent fruit ripened, the Lu clan would target him. Lu En's asked doubtfully, "Not even a single trace." "Not a single trace. We did not discover anything." When Lu En's heard this, he laughed loudly. He said, "How could there be no trace at all? Even if he heard our footsteps and left in advance, he would have left some traces in his haste." Chapter 736. Lu Enyan withdrew her smile and showed a sullen expression. She shouted, "This person is definitely nearby. Destroy all the trees within 500 meters. Do not leave a single one alive. Blast them all to pieces." Yes, the 8 black-clad martial monarchs leaped into the air and quickly carried out Lu En's orders. Surging sword lights swept out in all directions. Bang, bang, bang. The sword chi rampaged in all directions, and the towering trees were instantly turned into sawdust in the face of this heavy sword chi. The tree Xiao Chan was hiding in was the first to be attacked. He sighed and had no choice but to reveal himself. Tree shards filled the air like snowflakes. Xiao Chun flew backward and landed on a tree branch. So. Lu En's led the 8 superior grade martial monarchs and leaped into the air. They landed on a few trees that were not attacked and surrounded Xiao Chun. Lu En's looked at Xiao Chun and asked the one-armed black-clad swordsman on the ground, "Lu Hua, is that him?" Lu Hua was very excited. His body trembled as he shouted, "First young master, it is him. He is the one who saved Situ Foam and injured our brothers." Lu En's raised his head and looked at Xiao Chun. His expression turned sullen as he said, "You are rather bold. You injured my Lu clan's people, yet you did not mix with the Situ clan's people and did not leave quickly. You are doing this for the white nascent fruit, right?" Xiao Chun's expression did not change. Even though he was surrounded by 8 people, he did not panic. He said calmly, "I do not know what you are talking about." A murderous intent flashed in Lu En's eyes. When he thought of his father's instructions, he said coldly, "You'd better not know. I'll give you a chance now. Scram out of the savage beast forest immediately, and the matter of you saving Situ Foam will be written off." Trying to threaten Xiao Chun to leave? Too naive. Xiao Chun smiled coldly to himself. He said indifferently, "It is not up to you to decide who I save. It is even less up to you to decide whether I leave or not." Lu En's expression turned cold as killing intent surged in his eyes. He placed his right hand on the hilt of his saber and said, "I dare you to say that again." It was a very common line, but Xiao Chun had no intention of paying attention to him at all. There were some words that he had always disdained to say a second time. "Since you say that I don't have the guts, then I'll use my actions to prove it. Whether I have the guts or not, there's no need to talk so much." Xiao Chun placed his right hand on the saber hilt and quickly condensed the aura of the Qing emperors drawing the saber, merging it with the surrounding environment. Xiao Chun instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. The resplendent purple saber light was as bright as the sun, shining brightly. Xiao! 9 strands of purple saber chi instantly flew out from different trajectories. The saber lights were dazzling, and the saber chi looked like rainbows flickering with electricity. All 9 of them, including Lu In's, were astonished. Xiao Chen's saber aura had enveloped all of them. It seemed that everyone could become his target. However, logically speaking, he only had 1 saber and 1 pair of eyes. It was impossible for him to attack 9 people at once. All of this was just an illusion. However, the reality defied common sense. Xiao Chen's saber really struck 9 people. Furthermore, the trajectory and strength of each saber strike were all different. At this moment, common sense was completely overturned. Clang, clang, clang. The sword light and the saber chi collided, and quintessential essence exploded, emitting a powerful shockwave that directly chopped down a large tree. With 1 slash, he easily disrupted the formation of the 9 people, throwing them into chaos. Soaring Dragon. Xiao Chun rode the dragon and flew up. The cyan dragon image carried him and directly flew in front of Lu In's, quickly using ghost image chop. Thunder roared without end. The saber lights were like ghostly shadows, hard to distinguish between the real and the fake. Lu In's flicked his wrist, and a blue sword flower appeared, blocking the saber light. However, the veritable essence, energy, and immortal state of thunder contained in the saber far surpassed his expectations. With each saber strike, Lu In's retreated 100 meters in the air. After 72 attacks, he had already retreated more than 7 kilometers. A strong wind formed by veritable essence energy swept out. Everywhere the two passed, towering trees were uprooted, and long gullies appeared in the ground. After the 72 attacks were completed, the saber chi containing the immortal state of thunder immediately formed a vast sea of lightning that exploded. Lu In's reaction speed was very impressive. Before the sea of lightning formed, he quickly executed his heaven-ranked martial technique. 9 dazzling blue balls of sword light surrounded Xiao Chen's body and quickly spun around. Xiao Chen glared, his hair scattered, and his clothes fluttered wildly. Boom! The sea of lightning clashed with the 9 balls of veritable essence energy. A surging energy surged out, and the ground actually sank. After that, countless specks of dust shot out like cannonballs, forming a huge pit around the two. Lu In's held the advantage in terms of veritable essence energy. However, Xiao Chen's state was immortal, and his physical body was much stronger. In such a head-on clash, while the two looked equal, in reality, Xiao Chen's injuries were much smaller than Xiao Chen's. Pussy. In the end, Lu In's could no longer hold on. The 9 balls of blue veritable essence energy shattered, and he vomited a mouthful of blood as he went flying back. Xiao Chun, who was hidden in the sea of lightning, revealed a cold gaze. Then, an untraceable saber light flashed. Dang! The saber light originally wanted to pierce through Lu In's heart. However, Lu In's had a tough heart-protecting mirror on his chest. It was unknown what rank this secret treasure was, but it completely blocked Xiao Chen's saber light. Xiao Chen managed to survive. However, the veritable essence energy contained in the saber could not be blocked by the heart-protecting mirror. The huge impact caused Lu In's to vomit another mouthful of blood. Lu In's body flew high into the air and tumbled on the ground before he climbed back up in a sorry state. Lu In's looked at Xiao Chun with some horror in his eyes. Now, it was clear whether Xiao Chun dared to say that or not. Lu In's scanned the area with his spiritual sense. The 8 black-clad martial monarchs, who he had shaken off, would arrive soon. This Lu In's did not look like a good-for-nothing young master. It was not worth dragging things out for the sake of killing this group of people until the other side's main force arrived. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber, and the blue dragon under his feet circled around. Then, he soared into the sky, carrying Xiao Chun. First young master, are you all right? The 8 black-clad martial monarchs did not chase after Xiao Chun. Instead, they quickly surrounded Lu In's, protecting him tightly. Lu In's coughed, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. He said with some lingering fear, Lu Hua was right. This person's saber techniques defied common sense. His state contained mysteries, and his physical body was terrifyingly strong. Aside from my father, no one in the Lu clan can suppress him. We have to send news back quickly. We have to eliminate this person. Savage Beast Forest, Situ clan's stronghold. When Situ Lei heard the news from the scout, he was astonished. He said, "Are you saying that not only did the white-robed bladesman discover you, but the other person also died at his hands?" The scout lowered his head and said, "He is too strong. We are not a match for him at all." Situ Lei looked suspiciously at this person. He asked sullenly, "Since that is the case, why did he let you return?" The scout's heart trembled. When he thought of Situ Lei's horrifying means, he quickly explained, "He told me to bring back a message." He said that the clan head went back on his word and that he was very angry. As for Xiao Qin's interrogation about the white nascent fruit, he had leaked the secret in the end. Naturally, he would not say anything. Otherwise, he would not be able to escape death. Situ Lei thought quickly, what does he mean by saying that I went back on my word? Is he blaming me for sending people to follow him? He is very angry. Is he threatening me? Never mind. It is not wise to offend a ruthless person at such a crucial moment. As long as he is not here to snatch the white nascent fruit, it is fine. So what if a scout dies? However, just as Situ Lei was about to speak, he noticed that the scout's hand, hidden in his sleeve, was trembling violently. "Kneel!" Situ Lei's expression changed as he suddenly shouted. His voice was like thunder and as majestic as a mountain. The majesty that Situ Lei had accumulated over the years suddenly erupted, causing the guilty scout to panic. He immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed, begging for mercy. "Clan head, please spare me. That person forced me to say the matter of the white nascent fruit. I definitely did not take the initiative to say it." Situ Lei's face sank. He said in a cold voice, "What a deep scheme. I nearly fell for it. Letting him return alive is better than killing him. This is clearly a better way to eliminate my suspicions. Strong strength, calm, and decisive mind. This person must be eliminated." Situ Lei casually kicked the scout in front away. Then, he instructed his subordinates, "Pass down my orders. Search for that white-robed bladesman with all your might. I will personally lead a team to kill this person." On the other side, a similar scene played out in the Lu clan stronghold. When Lu Chan heard Lu En's report, he was greatly startled. After a while, Lu Chen instructed, "Search for this person with all your might. I will personally lead a team. How can we let someone take advantage of the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit?" It was easy to understand why the two of them made the same decision. They were not afraid of an enemy in the open. They were afraid of a strong opponent hiding in the dark. Anyone would fear such an enemy. There were still 7 more days before the white nascent fruit matured. By eliminating a variable, they would feel more at ease. When the sky brightened, Xiao Chun clearly felt that the atmosphere in the forest was different. The Situ clan and the Lu clan, these two clans that had feuded with each other, seemed to have come to a tacit understanding and work together. With the hillside with the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit as the center, the Situ clan spread out in a fan shape and started a thorough search. With such a dense search, no matter how well Xiao Chen hid, he was discovered in the end. The ones who discovered him were a group of cultivators from the Situ clan. Their cultivations were not high, so Xiao Chun did not have to spend much effort to kill them all. However, the other party had also successfully sounded the alarm, exposing Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun felt 2 extremely strong auras heading for him. They did not hide their auras at all. Everywhere they passed, the spirit beasts gave way. As Xiao Chun looked in the direction of the approaching people, he frowned and said, "The 2 clan heads actually made a move personally. It looks like they are determined to get this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit." Xiao Chun was probably in trouble now. The thing that he worried about the most had happened. With a half-sage leading the team and the trump cards in his hands, it would be easy for him to escape. However, with 2 half-sages working together, unless he used all his trump cards, it would be impossible for him to leave easily. Xiao Chun pushed off the ground and leaped onto a tree branch. Then, he nimbly moved through the forest. With one gentle leap, he traveled 500 meters. Xiao Chun left many trees behind him. Chapter 737. Not long after Situ Lei left, he appeared where Xiao Chun had been. The ground was strewn with the corpses of 5 or 6 Situ clan cultivators. All of them had died in one strike. Some of them had not even drawn their weapons. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The superior grade martial monarchs of the Situ clan, who were slower, landed one after another. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they were greatly startled. What a fast saber! Situ Lei's expression turned somewhat grave. He felt a chill run down his spine. If such a horrifying person attacked him from behind, it would be extremely dangerous. Xiao! Sonic booms resounded. Situ Lei did not even turn his head as he said, "He is here." The person who arrived was Situ Lei's nemesis, the Azure Peak City's Lu clan's clan head, Lu Chun. Lu Chun did not say a word. He only looked calmly at the corpses on the ground. However, the Situ clan cultivators behaved as though they were facing a great enemy, feeling incredibly nervous. Soon, the superior grade martial monarchs of the Lu clan landed one after another. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they revealed similarly horrified expressions. Situ Lei turned around and looked meaningfully at Lu Chun. He said calmly, "Old fogey Lu, you and I have fought for decades. You should know what I'm thinking now, right?" Lu Chun's wrinkled eyes squinted slightly. He smiled and said, "Given our characters, we are not willing to let others take advantage of us. I know what you are thinking. Good. Before the white nascent fruit ripens, our clans will put aside our past grudges and deal with this person with all our might. What do you think?" Situ Lei said sullenly with a bright gleam in his eyes. Lu Chun revealed a sinister smile on his aged face. He said, "That is exactly what I am thinking." The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The two clans, which were like fire and water, were actually prepared to work together to deal with a common enemy under the pressure of Xiao Chun. If news of this spread, it would startle the entire Azure Peak City. Situ Lei looked in the direction that Xiao Chun had taken. He said calmly, "Aside from you and me, no one else can stop this brat. My opinion is that once we discover this brat, we should immediately attack together. You and I, let's attack together immediately. Don't hold back, lest we increase the number of casualties." Last night, Luenz had already told Lu Chun about Xiao Chen's strength. Now that he saw the corpses before him, Lu Chun could not help but feel astonished. Even though Lu Chun had not seen Xiao Chen before, he had a rough guess of Xiao Chen's strength. He felt that Situ Lei was not exaggerating. Cultivators of the two clans filled this small area. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not familiar with the Chun. Even if they had the advantage of speed, they would still be discovered by the cultivators of the two clans from time to time. They could not truly calm down. 3 days later, even after Xiao Chun did everything he could, he still could not shake off the cultivators of the two clans. After a while, Situ Lei and Lu Chun finally blocked his way. In front, Xiao Chun smiled. Situ Lei's Chun. Behind him, Lu Chun held a sword as he looked expressionlessly at Xiao Chen's back. Several cultivators hid in the forest on both sides. They leaped around and formed a huge encirclement, blocking all of Xiao Chen's paths. "Little brother, you really made this old man look for you for the past few days," Situ Lei said sullenly as he pointed his spear at Xiao Chun. In the past few days, the number of cultivators of the two clans that died at Xiao Chen's hands was uncountable. The people who came here were all elites. They had spent a lot of resources to nurture them. Anyone would feel frustrated if they died like that. Even though 2 half-sages blocked his path, Xiao Chun did not panic. He smiled and said, "The two of you really think highly of me. To think that you are working together to deal with a junior. I want to see if you can still smile later." Old Fogey Lu attack. Sparks flew on the tip of the spear. Situ Lei pushed his wrist forward, and the spear became like a dragon, roaring as it carried Situ Lei. In that instant, sand and pebbles flew, and a strong wind howled. Sitole unleashed his half-sage aura. Even the sky changed color. Lu Chen's gaze turned cold as he attacked at the same time. An icy blue light flickered on his sword, and a strong sword intent spread out. Lu Chen's hair fluttered wildly as his clothes fluttered. He pushed off the ground, and his sword hummed as he thrust it at Xiao Chun. When the two half-sages arrived, the auras of two half-sages pressed towards Xiao Chun like mountains. Regular martial monarchs would not even need to make a move. Under the pressure of such auras, they would find it hard to move. They would not even be able to breathe and would be instantly blasted into bits. However, these two were too naive to think that they could suppress Xiao Chun, who had consumed 10-odd monarch bloodgrass, with their auras. After activating the power of his bloodline, the ancient sovereign's aura in Xiao Chen's body surged out. A noble, ancient, vast sovereign's aura spread out, clashing with the half-sage auras of the two without any fear. Bang! 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 The formless auras clashed, giving off loud sounds in the air. Suddenly, small hurricanes formed and surged out in all directions. The hurricanes swept through the trees on both sides. The lush leaves were immediately swept away, leaving only bare tree trunks. The cultivators of the two clans hidden in the trees quickly moved out of the way. Before the ancient sovereign's aura, Sitole and Lu Chun could not help but pause for a moment. They were clearly caught off guard. Xiao Chun squinted and took advantage of this opportunity. He quickly drew his saber with his right hand. This was the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber, which he had gained a basic understanding of. The boundlessly resplendent purple saber qi split into two, moving in two different trajectories as they attacked the openings the two revealed. Dang! 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 Two metallic clangs resounded. Sitole and Lu Chun, two half-sages, were actually forced back by Xiao Chen's saber. However, a half-sage was still a half-sage in the end. After Xiao Chun adapted to the sovereign's aura, he charged over again. The overwhelming attacks carried vast quintessence, looking like dark clouds covering the ground. Their auras were startling, and their might was unparalleled. Xiao Chun received 10 moves head-on. His qi and blood surged, and his arms went slightly numb. Although he did not suffer any substantial injuries, the situation was not good. He could not retaliate at all. The difference in cultivation is too great. Even if I exhaust all my trump cards, I cannot take down two half-sages for now. At best, I can fight them to a draw. There are still so many cultivators eyeing me covetously. If I run out of quintessence, I will not be able to escape death. I have to think of a way to get them to give up on chasing me. After all, their ultimate goal is the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit and not to fight with half-sages. Amid the strong wind, Xiao Chun received the attacks of the two. He quickly thought about what to do. Unknowingly, 100 moves had passed. Beside the forest, the cultivators of the two clans widened their eyes as they watched. They all had incredulous expressions. Unexpectedly, this fellow lasted 100 moves against the attacks of two half-sages without showing any signs of weakening. Sitole's spear light trembled as he said sullenly, "Old Fogey Lu, it's time to make your killing move." Their opponent was unexpectedly difficult to deal with, causing the two to lose some patience. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Kill him in one move." Xiao Chun suppressed the energy in his body. With a thought, the two are going to use their heaven-ranked martial techniques. My chance might be here. 9 ring starburst. Lu Chun shouted ferociously, and 9 blue balls of sword qi appeared around him. Each ball of sword qi was compressed and contained horrifying might. The balls of sword qi circled around Lu Chun frantically. Lu Chen's aura sword and strong winds blew in all directions like sabers. Ka! 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 Without any time to react, the towering trees were chopped into pieces by the wind blades. The surrounding cultivators of the two clans revealed horrified expressions as they quickly fled. The might of this move in Lu Chen's hands was more than 10 times stronger than Lu En's. They were on a completely different level. Lu Chun pointed his sword into the distance, and the 9 balls of sword chi merged into one. A dazzling light shot toward Shao Chun. 10,000 swords hummed in the air, clanging endlessly. On the other side, 9 berserk flaming dragons soared up behind Sito Lei. The flaming dragons were 100 meters long, and flames surged out. They reared their heads back and roared with a startling aura. Sito Lei grasped his spear with both hands and shook it. 9 flaming dragon-shaped spear chi shot out, roaring ferociously. Flames blazed in the air, and the temperature soared. Even the dust in the air melted away, looking very horrifying. Countless strands of energy clashed in Shao Chen's body. That was the aftereffect of receiving 100 moves from the 2 half-sages head-on. If not for the golden light barrier on his bones, he would have already been severely injured. Fortunately, as long as he recuperated after the battle, he would be able to recover immediately. After suppressing this energy, Shao Chun watched the 2 execute their heaven-ranked martial techniques. Shao Chun suppressed this energy and looked at the heaven-ranked martial techniques executed by the 2. He quickly made a decision and instantly executed the Dragon Subduing Slash, Return of the Azure Dragon. Vast waves surged behind Shao Chun, looking at the boundless sea. 999 pillars of water soared into the sky as the blue dragon leaped out of the sea. The dragon might gathered on the saber and formed a surging dragon-shaped saber chi. Auspicious clouds covered the sky, and dragon might spread out. Then it clashed with the resplendent sword chi and the horrifying 9 flaming dragons. Bang! An earth-shattering explosion occurred on the ground. The sword pill and the fire dragon saber chi exploded at the same time. Countless cracks appeared on the ground in an instant, spreading out like a spider web. Huge rocks soared into the sky and shot through the air, covering the sky and the sun. After that, the shockwaves shattered the rocks in the air and scattered them with the wind, forming a surging, boundless sandstorm. A white figure could be seen in the dust that filled the air. He vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back miserably. Clearly, using Return of the Blue Dragon, rising from the sea to clash head-on with the heaven-ranked martial techniques of 2 half-sages was too much. Shao Chun only lasted for a moment before the shockwaves knocked him back. Sito Lei and Lu Chun had unsightly expressions as well. The shockwave knocked them back 500 meters, and the quintessence in their bodies turned somewhat chaotic. When the dust settled, a white figure riding on the blue dragon quickly fled into the distance. As for Sito Lei and Lu Chun, they looked at the white figure and did not rush to give chase. After a long time, Sito Lei said unhurriedly, "Old fogey Lu, unexpectedly, you are still so black-hearted. If you really dared to execute your killing move, 9 heavenly starburst, this brat would be a corpse by now." Lu Chun smiled faintly and said, "Likewise, you still did not execute your boundless sea of flames." After chasing Shao Chun away, the 2 of them, who had fought for most of their lives, immediately became hostile with each other. This made sense when one thought about it. These 2 were mortal enemies. How could they trust each other absolutely? If one side used their killing move and the other side did not, wouldn't that give the other side a chance to kill them on the spot? Chapter 738. Sito Lei smiled gently and said, "This brat is already crippled. Earlier, he received 100 moves from us. Now, he received 2 heaven-ranked martial techniques. He will not be able to recover within a month." The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit would ripen in only 4 days. By the time Shao Chun arrived a month later, the white nascent fruit would be gone, and it would be useless. This was also why the 2 were not in a rush to chase after Shao Chun. Unless one was a martial sage, no one could recover within 4 days from the heaven-ranked martial techniques of 2 half-sages. No matter what, they managed to get rid of a hidden danger. Although they paid a high price, it was all worth it. Lu Chun turned around and smiled. "Old fogey Sito, there's a tricolored flame python guarding the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. How about we work together later?" Sito Lei laughed loudly and said, "That would be for the best. We cannot let others watch from the sidelines. Naturally, we cannot let a beast take advantage of us." It was rather funny. The two had relaxed expressions and calm gazes. They did not look like mortal enemies who had fought for decades. After the discussion, both sides retracted their forces, no longer paying attention to Xiao Chun. A white figure swayed as he descended from the sky above a small river in the periphery of the savage beast forest, landing on the riverbank. Xiao Chun raised his head and looked at his pale reflection in the river. He coughed intensely a few times, and blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, dyeing his white robes red. This time, Xiao Chun was severely injured. His internal organs all cracked. He had truly sustained internal injuries. However, his injuries were not as severe as Lu Chun and Sidu Lei made them out to be. Under martial sage, indeed, no one could withstand the attacks of two heaven-ranked martial techniques and recover quickly. However, Xiao Chun was an exception. His physical body had already reached the standard of a martial sage. Furthermore, his bones had formed an internal defense. In terms of resistance to attacks and recovery, it would not be an exaggeration to say that a regular inferior grade martial sage could not compare to him. Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, looked at the pale Xiao Chun, who occasionally frowned due to the intense pain. Feeling confused, she asked, Xiao Chun, if you had used Soaring Dragon, you would not have suffered such severe injuries, right? Xiao Chun swallowed a healing medicinal pill and squeezed out a smile on his pale face. There is no need. My goal is the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, not to fight to the death with two half-sages. Continuously exposing my strength will only make the two of them more wary of me. Why don't I get injured at the right time and let them think that I can't fight anymore? At that time, I'll give them an unexpected surprise. Being chased by the two great clans for the past few days had left Xiao Chun mentally and physically exhausted. He had not been able to relax for even a moment. The two half-saints were pressing down step by step, and it caused his mind to be strained at all times. It was too exhausting. If this continued, and Xiao Chun kept putting on a brave front, not only would he fail to obtain the white nascent fruit, but he might even lose his life here. Ao Jiao frowned heavily. She still said with some reluctance, however, it is still too dangerous for you to continue like this. If they really steeled themselves to continue chasing you, you would be in real danger now. Xiao Chun analyzed calmly. That won't happen. The two of them fear each other. If I were no longer a threat, they would not have worked together to suppress me. Furthermore, riches come from danger. Even if they chase me, I will accept it. No one in this world can predict everything. After 3 days, Xiao Chun's strong physical body completely recovered. Xiao Chun, who was at the riverside, opened his eyes. His delicate face had a ruddy glow, and he looked spirited without any signs of illness. Xiao Chun radiated a sharp aura, and his eyes were bright and spirited. His gaze was as sharp as a knife's edge. After stretching his body, Xiao Chun took out a black cloak from the universe ring and draped it over himself. He looked into the distance and muttered to himself, in another day, the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit will ripen. The white nascent fruit will definitely be mine. Xiao Chun stretched his arms and soared into the air like a huge bird. Just as he was about to land, a blue dragon image appeared under his feet. Xiao Chun pushed off with his feet, and his body flew forward again. In an instant, he crossed a kilometer. Xiao Chun moved like a black arrow as he quickly moved forward in the forest. After 1 hour, a hill more than 800 meters tall appeared at the limits of his vision. The cultivators of the Situ clan and the Lu clan hid at the foot of the hill. They looked at the summit with fervent gazes. The white nascent fruit was about the size of a fist. With such a long distance, Xiao Chun could not see it with his eyes. He could only keep extending his spiritual sense forward. Finally, Xiao Chun saw the white nascent fruit hiding at the edge of a crack in the wall. The 4 black petals made the white spirit fruit look exceptionally eye-catching. The spirit fruit was snow white and as soft as a baby's skin. No one could bear to touch it. Xiao Chun extended his spiritual sense and soon discovered the tricolored flame python guarding not far away. The tricolored flame python was covered in flame tattoos. It was not very thick, only 100 meters long. It could not be compared to the 300-meter-long python that Xiao Chun once saw. However, the bewitching tricolored snake crown on its head was like an evil poppy flower, and it was emitting a strange aura. It reminded people that this was a genuine ninth-grade spirit beast that could be compared to a semi-sage realm expert. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense noticed Situ Lei and Lu Chun in the air. The corners of Xiao Chen's lips curled up slightly. He pulled down his hood and crossed his arms. Then, he stood on a tree branch and waited quietly. Before a storm, there would always be a period of calm. The wind would not blow, and the beasts would not cry out. Everything would be exceptionally quiet, so quiet that it would make one feel sad. At this moment, the hill with the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was undoubtedly in this period of calm. Situ Lei and the Lu clan cultivators hid themselves in the grass and trees below the hill. They held their breaths and remained motionless, cautiously watching each other. Everyone knew that no matter which side obtained the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, the other side's clan would suffer a calamity. The families on the other side would suffer a calamity and be expelled from Green Summit City. Their hundreds of years of family business would be completely destroyed. No one could accept such a result. A battle with the other side was unavoidable. The clan heads of the two clans chatted cheerfully, standing side by side in the air. Those who did not know what was going on might even think that the two were old friends. Situ Lei looked at the slope and slowly said, "When the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit ripens, it will definitely attract many peak rank 9 spirit beasts. At that time, the disciples of our clans will go and block these foreign spirit beasts. The two of us will work together to kill the tricolored flame python. After that, the fight for the white nascent fruit will depend on our own abilities." "Brother Lu, what do you think?" Lu Chun smiled calmly and said, "Based on Brother Situ's tone, it seems like you can defeat me and obtain the white nascent fruit." When Situ Lei heard this, his expression did not change. He put on a superficial smile and said, "Brother Lu must be joking. If I were really confident, your Lu clan would have been chased out of Azure Peak City long ago. Why would I wait until now?" "Sly old fox." Lu Chun cursed in his heart. He did not linger on this topic. He said, "Sure, let's go with your suggestion." Situ Lei had trump cards, but so did Lu Chun. If they relied on their own abilities, Lu Chun was not afraid. As the two waited quietly, time slowly went by, and the sky slowly darkened. Normally, the roars of all sorts of beasts could be heard in the savage beast forest at night. Strangely, there was not a single roar tonight. Under the night sky, many pairs of eyes stared at the small hill. No one relaxed at all. In the boundless darkness, time and scene seemed to freeze. Situ Lei and Lu Chun stood side by side in the air, each with their own ulterior motives. The tricolored flame python beside the white nascent fruit. The cultivators of the two clans hid at the foot of the hill like statues. Even further away, there was Xiao Chun, dressed in a black cloak, leaning against a tree trunk with his arms crossed. Everything formed a strange picture. All that was left was for the white nascent fruit to ripen. When a mountain torrent erupted and a storm arrived, the picture would shatter. Amidst the silence, it was already midnight. Suddenly, the white nascent fruit's 4 black leaves glowed with light. The black leaves were a boundless starry heavens. The motes of light were the twinkling stars in the starry heavens. At this moment, the people who had been waiting for a long time could not help revealing faint excitement in their eyes. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was about to ripen. The tricolored flame, python guarding at the side, moved its body slightly. It stuck out its forked tongue as it looked greedily at the crystalline, snow-white fruit. Situ Lei's and Lu Chen's eyes lit up. Even people as astute as them could not help taking a step forward. Even they themselves did not notice it. The cultivators of the two clans hiding at the foot of the hill leaned forward, advancing 5 or 6 meters in unison. At this moment, some ripples appeared in the quiet picture. Aside from a young, black-cloaked bladesman standing on the distant tree trunk, who remained as calm as before, everyone else in the picture could not resist the temptation. All the people in the picture could not resist the temptation and took a step forward. The motes of starlight on the leaves increased in number and grew brighter. In this boundless darkness, they became even more eye-catching. Xiao Chun, who was far away, could see them clearly. The thousands of motes of light flickered, looking very beautiful. They overshadowed the white nascent fruit's luster, giving off the feeling of a guest stealing the spotlight. However, everyone knew that this was only temporary. No matter how bright a supporting character was, he was just a supporting character in the end. Suddenly, a fiery light appeared in the middle of the flickering motes of starlight. The light was like the blazing sun, instantly suppressing the motes of light. It was like the sun quietly hiding in the night sky. When it released its light, even the dazzling stars would lose their brilliance. How could the light of a grain of rice compete with the sun and the moon? The moment the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit released its light, it shone brightly. A vast and boundless spiritual energy surged out into the surroundings. The multicolored light in the sky looked like snowflakes drifting down, filling the sky with auspicious signs. Roar! The five-colored auspicious sign and the spiritual energy that leaked out from the spirit fruit spread far and wide in an instant. The powerful roar of a beast resounded throughout the sky and earth. The ground trembled. As the peak rank 9 spirit beast ran for its life, the shock waves actually reached this place in an instant. My Situ clan disciples, heed my orders, guard the hill. Do not let any spirit beast near. My Lu clan disciples, heed my orders, guard the hill. Do not let any spirit beast near. Sido Lei and Lu Chun shouted at nearly the same time. The instant they spoke, their figures moved like lightning, arriving beside the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Chapter 739. Without saying a word, they each sent a palm strike, sending the tricolored flame python, which wanted to swallow the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, flying. The tricolored flame python tumbled in the air before landing at the foot of the slope. Then, it glared angrily at Situ, Lei, and Lu Chun, who were plotting against it. Move further away and deal with this beast. If we destroy the white nascent fruit, it will be over. Situ Lei's spear trembled. Before the tricolored flame python could react, he took the initiative to attack. Lu Chun quickly followed with a surging, killing chi. The tricolored flame python was about as strong as the two. Normally, if they met alone, they might not be able to deal with this beast even after putting a lot of effort. However, today, they ran into 2 half-sages determined to obtain the white nascent fruit. No matter how strong the tricolored flame python was, it could not reverse the situation. 2 men and 1 snake started an intense battle on the slope. With the 2 working together, they suppressed the tricolored flame python until it could not cause any trouble. At the same time, the battle at the foot of the slope also started. Hundreds of elite cultivators of the 2 clans worked together to defend against the rank 9 spirit beasts rushing over frantically. The battle at the foot of the slope was much more bloody than the one at the top. Although there were no peak rank 9 spirit beasts, there were more of them. The cultivators of the 2 clans defended bitterly, but they still paled in comparison. Casualties occurred at every moment. At this moment, the peaceful scene was completely torn apart. Miserable cries, beast roars, quintessence explosions, and all sorts of chaotic noises rang out endlessly. Under the hood, Xiao Chun stared at the white nascent fruit, which still gave off a bright light. He entered deep thought. After a while, Xiao Chun gently pushed off the ground like a ghost in the night. He silently flew forward, flying higher and higher until he hid himself in a cloud. Xiao Chun controlled the wind and carried the cloud to the top of the white nascent fruit. The people in the intense battle all had nervous expressions. No one noticed this scene. A dark cloud in the sky slowly approached the white nascent fruit. When the cloud descended to 2 kilometers, Xiao Chun stopped and looked at Situ Lei and Lu Chun, the 2 half-sages that posed the greatest threat to him. The tricolored flame python was already covered in wounds. The poisonous flames it spat out were growing thinner, and the threat it posed to the two was diminishing. Seeing that the tricolored flame python was about to die, Situ Lei and Lu Chen's movements gradually slowed down. The distance between them had unknowingly increased. A strange light flickered in their eyes as they stared at each other. Their main focus was no longer on the tricolored flame python. The pitiful tricolored flame python had nearly died. Due to various reasons, Situ Lei and Lu Chen had hung it up, refusing to give it a quick death. Situ Lei's spear light swept out, and the three-colored flame flew up. The momentum was astonishing, but in fact, it did not use much strength at all. Lu Chen kicked the tricolored flame python, flying at him back. Then he smiled indifferently and said, "Brother Situ, I'll leave the final strike of this beast to you." Situ Lei smiled calmly and said, "Brother Lu, you go first. With your movement technique, you will definitely be able to easily dodge the counterattack of the tricolored flame python before its death." "Haha, Brother Situ, you go first. How can this old man's strength compare to yours?" Before any spirit beast died, it would make a desperate counterattack. These two were crafty. Clearly, they did not want to endure this final strike. Just as these two were pushing each other away, a black figure suddenly descended from a cloud above the white nascent fruit. This figure moved astonishingly fast. The direction in which he appeared caught everyone off guard as well. A figure flashed. Situ Lei and Lu Chen, who were chatting with each other, could not react at all. Someone snatched away the glowing white nascent fruit. When the two of them looked back, they saw a black figure carrying the white nascent fruit, rushing down the mountain quickly. Situ Lei's and Lu Chen's mouths gaped open in shock. When they reacted, they became enraged. How bold! How dare he snatch away the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit from under our noses? Situ Lei roared ferociously and chased after the black figure in a frenzy. After planning for such a long time, someone snatched away the treasure at the last moment. No one could accept such a disappointment. Boom! Spear lights trembled, and sword lights flickered. In their rage, Situ Lei and Lu Chen each sent out a move. A blue ball of sword light and a roaring fire dragon charged at the black figure, trying to block him. The black figure seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. He pushed off the ground and leaped up, easily dodging the two fatal attacks. The fire dragon and the ball of sword exploded, creating a strong shockwave that surged out. The two raged. In order to block that black figure, they frantically ran, sending all sorts of attacks at Xiao Chun. Bang! 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 Quintessence surged, and rocks flew out. The horrifying shockwave created a strong wind, cutting the surroundings like knives. Although Xiao Chun dodged all these attacks, the black cloak he wore was already in tatters. It was no longer useful, so he casually took it off. The moment the white clear wind robes appeared, Situ Lei and Lu Chen immediately recognized Xiao Chun. They were dumbfounded. How can this be? He is so severely injured. How can he appear in such a short time? The shock in the two's eyes was extreme. They could not help but stop what they were doing. They stared at Xiao Chun in a daze. After so many schemes and plans, after so many rounds of searching, in the end, this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit still ended up in the hands of an outsider. Ignore those spirit beasts. Block him. When the two recovered their wits and saw that Xiao Chun had already run far away, they shouted at the disciples at the foot of the mountain. Instantly, hundreds of martial monarchs abandoned the spirit beasts they were fighting and launched themselves at Xiao Chun. So. Many figures flew out, their quintessence surging. 200 or 300 martial monarchs appeared together. Their auras merged into one, looking like a vast mountain range before Xiao Chun. There were close to 300 martial monarchs. Although their cultivations varied, if they attacked together, even a half-sage would not dare to clash head-on. Xiao Chen's face sank, and his sea of consciousness surged. He quickly circulated the dragon tone art in his body, draining his quintessence and mental energy at the same time. The dragon-shaped quintessence circulated in his body, and resounding dragon roars resounded continuously. When Xiao Chun felt the explosive energy in his chest, he opened his mouth and roared. The vigorous true dragon's voice immediately surged out. The wind howled, and dragon's might spread out. The resonant dragon's voice was like a clap of thunder, ear-splitting. When the sound waves spread out, the trees in the way gave off crisp cracking sounds as they all snapped in half. The close to 300 martial monarchs felt a strong wind blow at them. They could not even open their eyes. Those with weaker cultivations were even knocked back. What was even more horrifying was that the dragon's might contained in the sound wave, infused with surging mental energy. When it entered these people's seas of consciousness, it sounded like thunder roared in their minds. His entire head was in a daze, and the movements of his hands stopped for a moment. Taking advantage of this moment, Shao Chun stood on the blue dragon image and charged over. The ferocious impact knocked the people in front of him into the air like sandbags. By the time these people recovered their wits, Shao Chun had already taken advantage of this moment to cross the crowd and run far away. When Sido Lei and Lu Chun saw this scene, they were flabbergasted. Even though they were very knowledgeable, they had never heard of such a strange martial technique in the world before. By the time the two of them regrouped and chased away all the rank 9 spirit beasts around the slope, Shao Chun had already disappeared without a trace. How hateful! Situ Lei clenched his teeth, and his complexion turned ashen. He stomped heavily on the ground, causing the mountain to tremble. Even if Lu Chun had snatched away the white nascent fruit, Situ Lei would not have felt so sullen. However, he could not accept a nameless brat snatching away the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Lu Chen's expression was scarily unsightly as well, even worse than Sido Lei's. Originally, his Lu clan was the first to discover the white nascent fruit. In his heart, the Lu clan had already treated the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit as their family treasure. The Lu clan had put in a lot of effort, mobilized many people, and lost many elites. In the end, it ended up benefiting someone else. How could Lu Chen accept this? After the white nascent fruit is picked, it has to be consumed within 12 hours. Any storage space is useless. This person cannot get far. We still have a chance, Sido Lei said with a sullen expression when he thought of something. If one did not pick the white nascent fruit in its entirety, it was best to consume it right after it was picked. Otherwise, the spiritual energy contained in it would slowly leak out. If one did not consume it within 12 hours, the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit would become an ordinary spirit fruit, no longer as miraculous as before. Lu Chen's eyes lit up with hope. That's right. He will not be able to leave the savage beast forest within 12 hours. If our two clans work together, we will definitely be able to find him. The two clans both had strongholds in the savage beast forest. They had far more people than Sido Lei and Sido Lei. The cultivation of the others might be weaker, but there were not many requirements for them to search for someone. On the other side, Shao Chun ran for 5 kilometers before he stopped. He felt something wrong in the universe ring. He sent his spiritual sense in and discovered spiritual energy permeating the space within the universe ring. It was like a mist spreading everywhere. When he looked carefully, it turned out that the vast spiritual energy contained in the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was leaking out continuously. Even though a large amount of spiritual energy leaked out from the dazzling spirit fruit, it did not show any signs of dimming. This made one sigh. No wonder the two clans would use their entire clans to fight for it. However, continuing to leak out was not a solution. Even a fool could tell that something was wrong. Shao Chun asked doubtfully, "Ao Jiao, what's going on?" Ao Jiao said with some pity, "Quickly consume it. Otherwise, its effects will be greatly reduced. It would have been great if we had uprooted it. It would have been even better if the roots were intact. That way, we could have transplanted it into the immortal spirit ring." Shao Chun smiled bitterly. Ao Jiao made it sound easy. At that time, it could be said that he had plucked it from the hands of 2 half-sages. If not for these 2 half-sages fearing each other and harboring ulterior motives, he would not have stood a chance. It would be very difficult to refine this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit in a short time. The two clans would definitely send people to search for him. Chapter 740. If someone interrupted him during the refinement process, the consequences would be dire. At best, he would be severely injured. At worst, he might even lose his life. Unexpectedly, after obtaining the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, there would be so much trouble. The joy in Xiao Qian's heart slowly cooled. He felt conflicted. The two clans were very familiar with this place. No matter how well he hid, they would find him. 3 days ago, when he was being chased, he had not been able to relax for even a moment. Ao Jiao urged, "Stop dilly-dallying. Quickly refine it. Otherwise, the medicinal effects will weaken." Being afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind was not Xiao Qian's character. Steeling himself, Xiao Qian looked around and found a dense bush. After making some simple disguises, he sat down cross-legged and took out the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit from the universe ring. A regular white nascent fruit could live for 500 years at most. A 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was definitely a mutated fruit, comparable to a rare treasure. It was not much less valuable than dragon marrow. After calming himself, Xiao Qian's expression turned completely calm. Then, he swallowed the white nascent fruit. The white spirit fruit was fragrant and sweet. It melted in his mouth. Before Xiao Qian could savor the taste, the white nascent fruit turned into a warm current flowing through his body. Boom! The medicinal energy took effect in a moment. Xiao Qian's skin and hair all turned crystalline, flickering with light and giving off a radiance. This was especially so for Xiao Qian's head of black hair, which fluttered in the wind. He looked like ancient jade, filled with a boundless charm. The surroundings of Xiao Qian's dantian surged. The warm current that the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit turned into fell like rain. Every drop of rain contained surging heaven and earth spiritual qi, and they fell without stopping. Xiao Qian's cultivation soared continuously, showing no signs of stopping. Soon, he touched the formless bottleneck of superior grade martial monarch. The spiritual energy contained in the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit far surpassed Xiao Qian's expectations. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it contained a vast amount of spiritual energy. Now, Xiao Qian even regretted using this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit to break through to superior grade martial monarch. Perhaps it would be even better if he used it when he was trying to break through to the half-saint realm in the future. However, this thought passed in an instant. Not to mention the fact that the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit could only be found and not sought. The purple thunder divine incantation that Xiao Qian cultivated required far more quintessence than ordinary people. The white nascent fruit that others could use to break through to half-sage might not have the same effect on him. Boom! The vast spiritual energy gushed like a river. After a few hits, it broke through the formless bottleneck of superior grade martial monarch. However, the jade-like luster on Xiao Qian's body did not weaken at all. His 3,000 strands of hair flickered with fluorescent light, fluttering in the wind. A surging energy flowed through Xiao Qian's body. He felt very carefree. At this moment, he finally advanced to superior grade martial monarch. However, what delighted Xiao Qian even more was that the spiritual energy in the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit did not run out. In the world around Xiao Qian's dantian, droplets of rain fell continuously. Just one drop of rain was equivalent to 1 day of cultivation. Xiao Qian's cultivation continued to advance. After 1 hour, as he continuously refined the spiritual energy, he completely stabilized his cultivation as a superior grade martial monarch. The spiritual energy in the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit had not run out yet. Xiao Qian quickly made a decision. He would make use of this opportunity to break through to late-stage superior grade martial monarch. After making up his mind, Xiao Qian started to refine his quintessence. He turned the unending but slightly loose spiritual energy into thick and heavy purple lightning-attributed quintessence. Time slowly went by. With the help of the white nascent fruit, Xiao Qian's quintessence was completely solid in less than 1 hour, becoming as heavy as a mountain. Without hesitation, Xiao Chun took out a quintessence-gathering pill and swallowed it. Then, he started to refine his dense purple quintessence a second time. The carefree feeling in Xiao Chen's body vanished. Replacing it was the intense pain of refining quintessence twice. Bean-sized beads of sweat rolled down Xiao Chen's forehead. He clenched his teeth and endured bitterly, silently enduring the pain of the quintessence-gathering pill. Even though Xiao Chun had already experienced it twice, this experience still made his soul tremble. His entire body ached, and he wished he could stop immediately. Since ancient times, countless people had tried to refine their quintessence twice. Most of them could not endure it and gave up. The remaining few could not endure it and died from the pain. A strong physical body and an indomitable will. Only by having both could one successfully refine their quintessence twice. Otherwise, even if one was a demonic genius that only appeared once in 10,000 years, it would not work. The heart-wrenching pain constantly questioned Xiao Chen's heart, asking if he had clearly seen his own path, if he really knew what he wanted. The path of a cultivator was filled with thorns and endless bumps. No matter how much effort and sweat one put in, one might not reach the peak in the end. Would one's heart waver? Would one still have the courage to endure this boundless pain? Xiao Chen's heart did not waver. His past beliefs became even firmer as he questioned himself. Xiao Chen never doubted his own path. Not in the past. Not now. Not in the future. Dong. Dong. Look around. The clan head said that as long as we find that brat, we do not need to capture him to obtain a great reward. Urgent footsteps resounded. At this crucial moment, the cultivators of the Situ clan and the Lu clan had actually arrived. If someone injured him while he was consuming the quintessence-gathering pill, he would definitely enter a berserking chi deviation. Xiao Chen quickly thought about it and decided to give up on this opportunity. Although the loss was great, compared to entering a berserking chi deviation, he had no other choice. Don't move. Focus on refining your quintessence. Absorb all the medicinal liquid in the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. I'll block these people for you. Before Xiao Chun could reply, Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, flew out with a whoosh. The simple disguise that Xiao Chun laid immediately tore a hole. The cultivators of the two clans immediately discovered Xiao Chen's jade-like luster in the dark forest. We found him. Quick, in form. The person who spoke was incredibly excited, attracting the attention of a search team. But before he could finish speaking, a beautiful figure flickered over, blood splattered, and his head flew into the air. Only now did the others notice that at some point in time, a pretty girl with a frosty expression was hovering in the air. Ao Jiao held two short sabers made of light in her hands. Without saying anything, she charged at the remaining people. Most of the search team were only martial kings. How could they be a match for Ao Jiao? Lights flickered, and they fell one after another. This startled the leader of the search team. He turned around and ran, quickly activating the alarm mechanism hidden in his sleeve. An ear-piercing, buzzing sound immediately radiated in all directions like ripples. The sound swept through the many trees. After a while, all the cultivators within 50 kilometers heard the commotion. Pusiai. The lightsaber in Ao Jiao's hand flew out and nailed the person who successfully triggered the alarm to a tree. The search team of 11 people died in a few breaths of time. The temporary danger was resolved. However, an even greater danger was about to arrive. Sensing two strong auras flying over at lightning speed, Ao Jiao could not help but frown slightly, feeling very worried. Two clumps of light descended from the sky, releasing horrifying energy ripples. They blasted many trees into pieces and filled the air with dust. Sidu Lei and Lu Chun walked out of the dust cloud expressionlessly, holding their weapons in their hands. The two looked around and immediately discovered Xiao Chun, whose entire body gave off a jade-white glow. Rage burned in their eyes. This brat was actually refining the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Now, even if they killed this brat, they would not be able to retrieve the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. In their rage, the two rushed forward, wanting to chop Xiao Chun into pieces to vent the hatred in their hearts. Chong! Chong! Ao Jiao descended calmly from the sky. She brandished the two sabers in her hands and blocked the attacks of the two. Her exquisite saber techniques were executed miraculously. The cold light was piercingly cold, and it forced the two of them, who were not prepared for it, to retreat in a single exchange. Item Spirit. After they landed, Lu Chun and Situ Lei exchanged strange glances. Then, they rejoiced and looked at Ao Jiao with a fervent gaze. Situ Lei's spear trembled as he laughed softly. I have long felt that this brat's saber is strange. Unexpectedly, it actually gave birth to an item spirit. Lu Chun smiled sinisterly and said, a treasured saber with an item spirit. Even if we split it evenly, it would be more than sufficient to make up for our losses. As half-sages, the two were naturally more knowledgeable than ordinary people. They immediately figured out Ao Jiao's identity and rejoiced in their hearts. Ao Jiao floated quietly on the ground. When she saw the greedy gazes in the two's eyes, she could not help but smile coldly. Who do you think you are? After receiving the Thunder King's inheritance, the Lunar Shadow Saber, do you think that just anyone can grasp it? Situ Lei's eyes lit up as he laughed loudly. No wonder this brat is so strong. So, he is the inheritor of the Thunder King. It looks like we're going to make a big profit this time. Watch how I subdue you. Xiao. Situ Lei's figure flashed, and his spear turned into a fire dragon as he charged at Ao Jiao. The strong state of fire was accompanied by vast quintessence. Its might was incredibly startling. Lu Chun did not want to fall behind. A blue light surged on his sword as he quickly followed. Since the Thunderwood sword broke, Ao Jiao had not recovered her strength. She had been reborn in the Lunar Shadow Saber. Even so, she barely reached the combat prowess of a medial-grade martial monarch. In terms of cultivation, Xiao Chun was no match for the two. Fortunately, her saber techniques and combat techniques far surpassed theirs. She could still deal with the two for a while. However, as time dragged on, the situation slowly turned for the worse. Under their relentless attacks of quintessence exhaustion, Ao Jiao found it increasingly difficult to hold on. Bang! An opening appeared in Ao Jiao, and Situ Lei took advantage of it. His spear swept out and sent Ao Jiao's weak body flying. Little girl, you still dare to boast? Do this old man have the qualifications to wield the Lunar Shadow Saber? Situ Lei laughed maniacally and took advantage of the situation to attack. A fire dragon circled his spear, forcing Ao Jiao to retreat again and again. Chapter 741. Boom! A blue sword ball gave off a metallic sword hum as it flew towards Ao Jiao, who was being held back by Situ Lei. This sword ball was made up of thousands of strands of sword chi. If struck, it would feel like someone had swung thousands of swords. This was Lu Chen's unique killing move. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take down Ao Jiao in one move and force her to submit. Just at this critical moment, the jade-like Xiao Chun in the bushes behind suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes gleamed with an unparalleled sharpness. The light withdrew, and Xiao Chen's gaze turned cold and emotionless. He leaped up and gathered a vast, lightning-attributed quintessence in his right hand. Xiao Chun clenched his fist and punched, striking the blue sword ball flying at him. Electric light exploded like a flame, and the boundless sword chi hidden in the blue sword ball was scattered by this punch. It turned into sword winds and scattered in all directions. After shattering Lu Chen's fatal strike with one punch, Xiao Chun looked at Situ Lei, who was attacking Ao Jiao relentlessly. His cold eyes did not contain any emotion. An azure dragon image appeared under Xiao Chen's feet and carried him forward. Then, Xiao Chun punched without hesitation. Thunder roared in the sky, and the flickering electric light on his fist looked like it would last forever. Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered in the wind. Under the illumination of the electric light, he looked like a war god descending, filled with might. The instant Xiao Chan got close, he activated the ancient sovereign's aura. A vast and epic aura pressed down like a mountain, causing Situ Lei's movements to pause. Bang! Taking advantage of this fleeting opportunity, Xiao Chen's fist, flickering with purple electric light, quickly smashed into Situ Lei's chest. Bang! When Xiao Chen's fist landed on Situ Lei's chest, it gave off a thunderous sound. The lightning streaked across the sky, and a vast lightning-attributed quintessence poured into Situ Lei's body through his chest. Situ Lei's head, full of black hair, chi, all of them were electrocuted, his face was pale, and his body flew backward. Ao Jiao, come in. I'll help you fight back how these people beat you. Looking at the two people in front of him expressionlessly, Xiao Chen's eyes surged with killing intent, and his aura continued to rise. The flickering lightning illuminated his delicate face, making it look particularly eye-catching. A smile appeared on Ao Jiao's pale face. This sentence was enough for her. There was never a need to doubt Xiao Chen's words. Once he said it, he would definitely do it. The weakened Ao Jiao turned into a beam of light and entered the immortal spirit ring. Sita Lai and Lu Chun looked at Xiao Chun with bewildered expressions. As half-sages, they actually felt a little timid before Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun shattered Lu Chen's sword ball with one punch and sent Situ Lei flying with another. The strength that Xiao Chun displayed after consuming the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit far surpassed the two's expectations. Xiao Chun gently waved his left hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his grasp. Then, he looked at the two and said indifferently, "Make your move. Let me see what qualifications you have to take my lunar shadow saber." Lu Chun and Situ Lai exchanged glances. They could see incredulity in each other's expressions. The white-robed bladesman, who they chased twice and forced to flee miserably, actually took the initiative to challenge them. "Since you want to die so much, I, Situ Lei, will grant your wish." Situ Lei could no longer endure the disdainful gaze in Xiao Chen's eyes. He roared ferociously and brandished his spear, taking the initiative to attack. 9 berserk fire dragons soared behind him. Guided by the spear, they quickly flew toward Xiao Chun. Lu Chen's expression turned cold. He glanced at the lunar shadow saber in Xiao Chen's hand, and a greedy expression appeared on his face. Then, he quickly followed up and launched 9 star-like blue sword balls. The two's attacks were the heaven-ranked martial techniques that defeated Xiao Chun previously. They intended to severely injure Xiao Chun again, not giving him any chance to flee this time. Unfortunately, the two did not know that Xiao Chun had purposely lost the previous time. Now, Xiao Chen's cultivation had improved greatly. Not only had he advanced to superior-grade martial monarch, but he had also refined his quintessence twice. The current Xiao Chun was no longer the same as before. How could he care about these two moves? Grasping the saber hilt with his right hand, Xiao Chun leaned forward slightly. He circulated his energy for the dragon, subduing slash. The soaring aura slowly withdrew and hid itself. Xiao Chun remained as motionless as a mountain. He was like a true dragon in hibernation, continuously calculating the trajectories of the two's killing moves with his eyes. Only when the two heaven-ranked martial techniques were only 8 meters away from him did Xiao Chun suddenly make a move. He turned into a true dragon and took a light step forward. With just one step, the ground split open with a loud bang, and a black crack spread out in front of him. Hidden dragon in the abyss. A gentleman plans before taking action. Soaring dragon in the sky, shocking the world with a single brilliant feat. Xiao Chun soared into the air. Following the feeling in his heart, he naturally drew the lunar shadow saber. It was like a true dragon furiously swinging its claws. The might of a true dragon soaring into the air. The rage of a true dragon, unstoppable. Bang! The saber light was very dazzling. Situ Lei's 9 clumps of flames howled miserably at this soaring saber strike. They turned into sparks and scattered. Lu Chen's 9 sword orbs that resembled starlight directly exploded, and the sword chi hidden within them shot out in all directions like a celestial maiden. The shock waves of the sword chi blasted deep pits on the ground, creating a scene of devastation. After breaking the killing moves of the two, Xiao Qin's momentum did not decrease. He launched a great counterattack at the two. Xiao Qin had refined his quintessence twice. Now, when it came to competing with quintessence, he no longer feared the two. By relying on his strong physical body, he dared to fight, not fearing injury. In the air, Xiao Qin's aura flourished. He brandished his saber and executed all sorts of martial techniques, forcing Sidu Lei and Lu Chun to continuously retreat. After 100 moves, Sidu Lei and Lu Chun felt their blood churning. Their internal organs trembled violently. The flowing electric light rampaged in their bodies. In the past, the two of them had used their cultivation to suppress Xiao Qin, forcing Xiao Qin into a sorry state within 100 moves. Now, the situation was reversed. With the same level of quintessence, the advantage of Xiao Qin's physical body showed itself. Similarly, after receiving 100 moves, his strong physical body blocked most of the energy. As Xiao Qin's long hair fluttered, his delicate face appeared very relaxed. The show was just beginning. Spring thunderchop, burning to desolation, fated person in autumn water, grieving frost. The Four Seasons saber technique, which was only slightly weaker than a heaven-rank martial technique, was easily executed by Xiao Qin like he was eating or drinking, forcing Sidu Lei and Lu Chun into an even more sorry state. Cycle of Seasons, endless growth. The Cycle of Seasons, which could rival most heaven-ranked martial techniques, swept out endlessly with the power of the Cycle of Seasons. The thunder of spring, the fire of summer, the wind of autumn, and the frost of winter. The mysterious phenomenon of the Cycle of Seasons was perfectly infused into Xiao Qin's saber technique. When he swung his saber, he sent the two, whose chi and blood were already unstable, flying back while vomiting blood. The two of them landed on the ground with a loud bang. The huge impact caused the ground to tremble and dust to fill the air. The two pairs of eyes filled with fear as they looked at Xiao Qin. If they had only been shocked earlier, then now they were filled with utter horror. Unexpectedly, two half-sages were suppressed by a superior-grade martial monarch to the point where they vomited blood and could not breathe. Since when did such a demonic genius appear in the Tianwu domain? Unexpectedly, they did not know about it. Situ Lei struggled to his feet and held his spear. He said in a deep voice, "Old Fogey Lu, even if you underestimate me, you really cannot hold back." As you say, Lu Chen's expression was equally grave. He said indifferently, "If we do not kill him today, given his talent, the two of us will not stand a chance in the future." In the air, Xiao Qin stood on the blue dragon image. His white robes fluttered as he watched the two half-sages prepare to use their trump cards. His delicate and handsome face did not show any fear. It was as Xiao Qin had said in the past. There were strong and weak half-sages. Murong Lingfeng had casually slaughtered Gu Mu and the others like him like pigs and dogs. Clearly, the two people from before were only on the same level as Gu Mu. They were much weaker than the seven giants. As long as Xiao Qin could close the gap in quintessence, he would not fear these two. Since they wanted to kill him, he did not want to leave any loose ends. This time, Xiao Qin would put an end to all his grudges. Boundless sea of fire, 9-star heavenly explosion. Sidu Lei and Lu Chun shouted at the same time. The two of them no longer held back, executing their killing moves without holding anything back. When facing the current Xiao Qin, holding back would be no different from sending themselves to death. Whether it was success or failure, the two of them placed all their bets on this final move. A boundless sea of fire spread out from Sidu Lei's body. Blazing flames stretched as far as the eye could see. The mysterious phenomenon looked very real. The heat waves coming from it made everyone feel a scalding heat. It felt like even the air would melt under this sea of fire. A huge wave of fire surged over the sea of fire. As Situ Lei stood on the sea of fire, a ring of red flames appeared around him. His entire body was immersed in the flames as he tossed out the spear in his hand. It carried a boundless might as it flew towards Xiao Chun along with the boundless huge waves. The fire wave wanted to drown Xiao Chun, and the spear light wanted to pierce through Xiao Chun. The boundless hatred in Sidu Lei's eyes was all focused on this move. On the other side, Lu Qin's 9-star heavenly explosion had a horrifying might. It did not look any weaker than Sidu Lei's. 9 dazzling blue balls of swords as bright as the sun formed a ring in the sky and spun rapidly. Lu Chun stood in the middle of the ring with his sword upright. He placed his left hand on the sword and circulated his quintessence continuously. The 9 blue balls of swords spun rapidly. In the end, there were no longer 9 balls of swords. Instead, they formed a ring-shaped storm of swords. Within the ring-shaped storm of swords, the buzzing of countless swords could be heard. 10,000 swords clashed with each other, clanging endlessly. Die. In an instant, the two of them completed their killing moves in practically an instant. They carried an overwhelming might as they charged at Xiao Chun. Only a scarlet flame and a huge ring-shaped storm of swords could be seen. Xiao Chun's body was instantly drowned in it. Chapter 742. After executing their trump cards, the two appeared extremely fatigued. Their quintessence was drained, and they placed all their hopes on these 2 moves. Sidu Lei panted slightly as he muttered, "It's time to end this." Even the strongest half-sage would not be able to escape unscathed from a medial grade heaven ranked martial technique that exhausted all our quintessence. No matter what, this brat was just a superior grade martial monarch. No matter how demonic he would not be able to escape death after 2 half-sages cut off all means of retreat. Lu Qin had the same thought in his heart. His gaze was urgent, anxious to know how badly Xiao Chun would end up when he was swallowed up. Bang! Suddenly, a bright golden light shot out from the sea of fire. The two, who had lost the protection of their quintessence, felt a stinging pain in their eyes like needles. A loud explosion resounded in the boundless sea of fire. The horrifying shock wave formed thick clouds that soared into the sky. A deep, spiral-shaped pit a kilometer wide appeared in the ground. When all the dust and debris soared into the sky, Sidu Lei and Lu Chun finally saw the situation inside. The white-robed Xiao Chun had his hair fluttering in the wind. His delicate face was in high spirits. He did not look injured at all. A strange flame diagram hovered in the air in front of Xiao Chun. It flickered with golden light and materialized everything in the world, including the entire world. That's impossible. Unexpectedly, he is not injured at all. What kind of strange martial technique is that? Unexpectedly, he blocked the full-powered heaven-ranked martial techniques of 2 half-sages. Sidu Lei and Lu Qin goggled. It was like they saw the most inconceivable thing in the world, something that surpassed their understanding. Xiao Qin's gaze turned cold. He did not give the two much time to react as he gently waved his right hand. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram shot forward. The 8 trigrams, the 4 divisions, and the world all entered it. 1 yin and 1 yang. The 2 flames chased each other, making the golden light of the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram even more dazzling. It looked like the sun, eternal and inextinguishable. Bang! Bang! 2 loud sounds rang out. Lu Chun and Sidu Lei, who did not have any quintessence left, could not resist at all. The Taiji yin-yang flame diagram knocked them into the air one after another. His body was like a kite with a broken string, swaying in the air. Xiao Qin's face sank, and he pushed down with a flip of his hand. Pooh! As dust flew up, 2 half-sages, who were once famous, were crushed into meat paste by Xiao Chun. With a thought, the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram stuck to the ground slowly disappeared. Finally, it turned into 2 beams of light, 1 white and 1 purple, returning to Xiao Qin's eyes. Xiao Qin closed his eyes and staggered, almost falling down. After the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram reached great perfection, this was the first time Xiao Chun used it in actual combat. Due to his lack of experience, he had exhausted too much mental energy. If he could control it well, he could completely reduce the power and not waste his mental energy. 5,000 meters away, the Situ and two clans' cultivators had already arrived. However, the battle between Shao Chun and the two half-sages had already reached its climax. They could not interfere at all. Originally, everyone thought that Shao Chun would die for sure. However, the result exceeded their expectations. Unexpectedly, a superior-grade martial monarch managed to kill two half-sages. Furthermore, he did it in such a tyrannical manner, crushing them into meat paste. When the cultivators saw Shao Chun resting with his eyes closed, they were horrified. They did not dare to advance at all. After a long time, Shao Chun opened his eyes and gently drifted over. Soon, he arrived before the two corpses that no longer resembled human corpses. When Shao Chun thought back to his encounters in the past few days, he realized that he had fought a battle of wits and courage with these two strong old foxes. He had been in danger of death several times. By relying on his solid foundation and extraordinary calmness and decisiveness, Shao Chun had the last laugh in the end. Not only had Shao Chun obtained the rare 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit and advanced to superior-grade martial monarch, but he had also killed two half-sages. After taking the two's spatial rings, Shao Chun no longer lingered here and headed for the exit of the forest. As the cultivators of the two clans watched Shao Chun's departing figure, they stared at him. However, none of them had any intention of following him. After the matter was over, Shao Chun left, hiding his scholarly achievements. He carried his pride and went on his way alone. 3 days later, the news of a white-robed bladesman killing Situ Lei and Lu Chun, the two tyrants of Azure Peak City, spread like wildfire to every corner of the city. These two clans dominated Azure Peak City for a long time. Situ Lei and Lu Chun were peak experts who had already shaken the entire city decades ago. In this small green summit city, the two of them were godlike existences. When people suddenly heard that these two people died at the hands of a young white-robed bladesman, no one believed it. They thought it was just a joke. However, as the cultivators of the two clans spread more news, whether intentionally or unintentionally, it was verified. Everyone in the city was shocked. Several old people sighed. The new generation replaced the old. To think that Situ Lei and Lu Chun died just like that, making someone else famous for nothing. As for Shao Chun's identity, all sorts of rumors spread. Some of them were so exaggerated that people found it funny. The largest restaurant of Azure Peak City was bustling with people. Business was booming. There was not a single empty table in sight. Do you know that the identity of the white-robed bladesman has already been revealed? It is the famous Bai Wushue's challenge. What's going on? Could this white-robed bladesman be the person that Bai Wushue officially acknowledged? That should be the case. The cultivators of the two clans have already compared the portraits. They look at least 70% similar. Furthermore, they are both bladesmen and wear white robes. How could there be such a coincidence? If it is this person, then Situ Lei and Lu Chun's deaths are not unjust. After all, even one of the 7 giants, Bai Wushue, officially acknowledged this person. The most discussed topic in the hall was none other than the white-robed bladesman. The place was extraordinarily bustling. Shao Chun, who was wearing a black cloak, sat at a table by the window on the 2nd floor. He appeared very calm about all this, not showing any complacency. He had only killed 2 half-sages who were as strong as Gumu. Any one of the 7 giants would have been able to do so. Furthermore, they would have done so much more easily than Shao Chun. After putting down his wine cup, Shao Chun focused all his attention on a round purple crystal coin. The purple crystal coin felt very textured in his hand. There were 3 mountains hidden in the clouds on the back and a figure of a person on the front. In total, Shao Chun had obtained 10 million superior grade spirit stones from Situ Lei's and Lu Chun's spatial rings. This was much lower than Shao Chun had expected. The two of them had their own clans and were not loose cultivators. Despite being half-sages, they only had slightly more than 5 million superior grade spirit stones. This was completely incomprehensible. Aside from spirit stones, Shao Chun's greatest harvest was the purple crystal coin before him. There were about 100,000 of them. The purple crystal coin should have been made from some mysterious or it was very valuable. As for what exactly it was, even after studying it for a few days, Xiao Chun could not figure it out. In the noisy restaurant, Xiao Chun held the purple crystal coin and finally asked Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, "What is this crystal coin?" "Ao Jiao, do you know?" Ao Jiao was currently taking care of the most valuable lunar cassia tree in the Immortal Spirit Ring. Under her care, the white lunar cassia tree had already doubled in height from its initial 10-meter-tall sapling. The tree trunk had also become thicker. Xiao Chun had to wrap his hands around it before he could barely wrap his arms around it. The branches and leaves were lush, glistening with spiritual light. It looked very beautiful. Ao Jiao stopped what she was doing and narrowed her eyes. Then she smiled craftily and said, "Naturally, I know. However, you have to throw in some more spirit stones. Right now, the spirit trees in the Garden are growing too slowly with just the rank 1 spirit vein's origin." Xiao Chun smiled bitterly, feeling a headache coming on. Honestly speaking, he had not paid much attention to the spirit trees in the Immortal Spirit Ring. In reality, an ordinary tree would take 10 or 20 years to grow. What more a spirit tree? It would take hundreds or even thousands of years to grow. However, Ao Jiao worked tirelessly. She kept saying that it would be very useful to Xiao Chun in the future. The earlier he managed the Immortal Spirit Ring, the better his advantage would be when he met Emperor Wu, who was of the same generation. Xiao Chun spent most of his superior grade spirit stones on it. This time, he had just obtained 10 million superior grade spirit stones. However, Ao Jiao immediately asked for 3 million. This made Xiao Chun's heart ache. After that, no matter how much she asked, Xiao Chun ignored her. Now that he heard Ao Jiao mention this matter again, Xiao Chun felt helpless. He could only agree to throw in another 2 million superior grade spirit stones. Only then did Ao Jiao smile in satisfaction. She said, "This is an astral coin. It is widely circulated among the high-ranked cultivators of the 5 major races of the Kunlun realm's 5 domains. Normally, Emperor Wu would use astral coins to exchange for treasures." Xiao Chun held the purple crystal coin and asked doubtfully, "Astral coin? Doesn't that overlap with spirit stones?" Ao Jiao smiled and said, "How can it overlap? Even in the human race's Tianwu domain, it would not overlap. I already said that this is the currency used among high-ranked cultivators. Martial sages and the various peak auctions all use astral coins as their currency. The most important thing is that spirit stones are most useful to human cultivators. They are not very useful to the other races. For example, the deity race mainly cultivates mental energy. The cultivation resource they require is demonic soul stones. The fiend race cultivates fiendish energy. The efficiency of converting spirit stones into fiendish energy is far inferior to that of blood soul stones. Only astral coins are made from the astral crystal mines of the Milky Way. They are essential for forging spirit weapons and secret treasures. They are a scarce resource among the various races. It is most suitable to use them as the currency used to communicate with the 5 major domains." After this explanation, Xiao Chun finally understood the value of astral coins. Due to the different body structures of the major races, the astral coins were extremely rare. Although they all cultivated the martial Tao, the cultivation resources they required were different. Spirit stones, which could be used widely in the Tianwu domain, will be hard to find in the fiend domain or the deity race. At this moment, they urgently needed a common resource that could be traded between the various races. Hunluo province was at the border of the Tianwu domain, bordering the fiend domain. Bushan Palace's control over it was very weak. The number of fiend race and human cultivators in the province was roughly equal. Chapter 743. Finding astral coins on Sidolei and Luchun was easy to explain. The 2 clan heads definitely had dealings with fiend race cultivators. Xiao Chun wondered how much 100,000 astral coins were worth. Xiao Chun thought for a while before asking, "How many spirit stones can 1 astral coin be exchanged for?" Ao Jiao thought for a while before replying, 2,000 years ago, during the Thunder King's time, One astral coin was worth 1,000 superior grade spirit stones. However, it was not fixed. For example, if you used astral coins to exchange for spirit stones in the human race, it would definitely not be as much as in the fiend domain. There should not be too many changes now. It should be around 1,000 superior grade spirit stones to 2,000. When Xiao Chun heard this, his heart could not help thumping heavily. Based on this exchange rate, 100,000 astral coins could be exchanged for at least 100 million superior grade spirit stones. How could the two clans accumulate only 10 million superior grade spirit stones after hundreds of years? This was impossible. Now that the two clans were fully stocked up, Xiao Chun was in a good mood. He revealed a smile and tossed an astral coin on the table. Then he said loudly, "Waiter, the bill." However, Ao Jiao laughed to herself. While 100,000 astral coins might seem like a lot, it would be nearly used up to purchase 1 or 2 high-rank superior grade secret treasures. The consumption of resources between high-rank cultivators was far beyond what Xiao Chun could imagine. When the waiter heard that the bill was being paid, he rushed over quickly. However, when he looked around, he discovered that the people on the table were long gone. Just as the waiter was about to curse out loud, he suddenly noticed the purple astral coin on the table. His eyes immediately lit up. He held it in his hand and examined it carefully before laughing joyfully. Astral coin. It really is an astral coin. I have not seen such a forthright cultivator in a long time. Hunluo province bordered the fiend domain. Astral coins were not rare in Hunluo province. Hence, the waiter recognized this astral coin with one glance. Knowing the value of astral coins, the waiter nearly jumped up in joy. Outside the city gates, Xiao Chun removed his black cloak and took one last look at Azure Peak City before continuing on his way. After spending more than a month in the Savage Beast Forest, he had completely recovered in the past 3 days. Xiao Chun's destination did not change. It was still the Devil Region, the forbidden land where the Thunder King had comprehended his will. At this moment, everyone in the Lu residence in Green Summit City was listless. Lu Chun was dead, and the clan had lost a half-sage. Everyone could predict what would happen to the Lu clan in Green Peak City in the future. It would be difficult for them to continue their glory. If it weren't for his prestige, his enemies would have come to kill him long ago. But his peaceful days wouldn't last long. Unless Lu Enz, the successor to the family head, was willing to cut off more than half of the family business. Young Master Lu, what do you think? As long as you say that you will leave the Eternal Heavenly Sword School, our magnificent Fiend Hall will immediately help you deal with that brat. In the brightly lit main hall of the Lu family, a burly man in a yellow robe with a rough appearance and an ominous glint in his eyes said to the indecisive Lu Enz. Although Green Peak City was a small city, its proximity to the Savage Beast Forest was excellent. It had always been one of the strongholds that the major factions of Hunluo province fought over. On the surface, it was in the hands of the Situ clan and the Lu clan. However, everyone in the know knew that the two clans were backed by the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. The Eternal Heavenly Sword School was the reason for the conflict between the two clans. They did not want one of the clans to grow too strong. In reality, if one thought about it carefully, one could understand. Given Situ Lei and Lu Qin's half-sage cultivation, without a strong backer, any martial sage would be able to subdue this place. However, such a situation did not happen. Clearly, everyone knew that touching these two clans was equivalent to offending the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. Things would not end well for them. The yellow-robed man appeared very confident. He smiled and said, "I believe you have already reported the situation here to the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. However, they will not offend the Hao Ian sect for the sake of two small clans. They are even more afraid of the human race's Bushin Palace, taking revenge on them if they kill this genius. However, we fiend race cultivators do not have so many scruples. If we kill him, so be it. As long as we do not break the tacit understanding between us, it will be fine." Lu En's expression slowly relaxed. He had indeed reported the situation to the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. The other party's reaction was exactly as the yellow-robed man said. They only placated Lu En's and said that they would send experts to take over the Lu clan temporarily. Then, they would take Lu En's in as a true inheritor. After Lu En's finished his studies, he would take revenge for his father's death. They had not mentioned taking the initiative to attack that brat. However, Lu En's still hesitated. After all, as a human, he could not accept the fact that he was a fiend race faction. However, when Lu En's recalled the scene of his father, Lu Chun, being smashed into a meat patty by Shao Chun, boundless hatred surged in his heart. He clenched his teeth and made a decision. Very well, I promise you. As long as your magnificent fiend hall can kill that brat, I will help you gain complete control of Green Peak City. The yellow-robed man stood up and laughed loudly. He said, "How delightful! In less than a month, that brat's head will appear before you." Hunluo Province was located at the border of the Fiend Domain and the Tianwu Domain. The humans and the fiend races had already infiltrated each other, forming a special, chaotic land. Be it the Tianwu Domain's Bushin Palace or the Fiend Domain's Heavenly Fiend Palace, they could not manage this place well. As time passed, they abandoned this place. This made it a completely lawless zone, and the chaos intensified even more. There were 6 major factions in Hunluo Province. The human race's Eternal Heavenly Sword School, Bone Tomb Sect, and Blood Shadow Sect, and the fiend race's Magnificent Fiend Hall, Heavenly Tiger Sect, and Soaring Serpent Mansion. These 6 major factions were all rank 8 sects with strong peak martial sages holding down the fort. In terms of accumulations, they were much weaker than the 9 ranks of the great families. However, among the rank 8 sects, any one of these 6 major factions would rank at the peak in any domain of the Kunlun realm. This was just one province, and there were 6 peak rank 8 sections. The chaos and conflict there was easy to imagine. Furthermore, the Bushin Palace and the Heavenly Fiend Palace made this place seem weak. Several loose cultivators who committed great crimes in the Tianwu Domain and the Fiend Domain did not want to flee to the distant Primal Chaos Domain. If they didn't want to run to the remote Primal Chaos Domain, they would hide here to avoid being hunted down. Here, be it the famous bandits of the Tianwu Domain's evil cultivator ranking or the great evil fiends of the Fiend Domain, they could be found everywhere. On a mountain peak outside Azure Peak City, strong winds blew away white clouds, causing them to drift about. That yellow-robed man from the Magnificent Fiend Hall stood at the summit, looking calmly into the distance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A nimble figure leaped up from the foot of the mountain like a monkey, continuously climbing up. With a single kick, he would leap 500 meters. This person's kick was clearly very strong. However, when he landed, he was as light as a feather. None of the rocks on the mountain peak tumbled down. This person climbed the 5,000-meter-tall slope in a few breaths of time before landing on a huge rock at the summit. This person also wore yellow robes. However, his clothes were messy, and he did not care about his appearance. His long hair was a mess, as if he had not combed it for a long time. With one glance, the word sloppy would immediately appear in one's mind. Only his eyes were spirited, bright, and clear. These eyes were like luminous pearls that had suddenly popped out of a pile of trash. They were very dazzling, making everyone forget about the pile of trash and only remember this pair of luminous pearl-like eyes. The sloppy youth half-squatted on the huge rock, not bothering with his image at all. He stuck his finger in his ear and said breathlessly, "First uncle, why are you looking for me so urgently? I did not come to Hunluo Province to sightsee." The yellow-robed man turned around and said with a smile, "Phone, I called you over this time to help our magnificent fiend hall with something. As you know, Azure Peak City is the city closest to the Tianwu Domain in Hunluo Province. The magnificent fiend hall has long been interested in this city." The sloppy youth with the single word phone removed his finger from his ear and casually flicked it a few times. He said lazily, "What does it have to do with me? You joined the magnificent fiend hall and no longer have anything to do with our giant ape race." The yellow-robed man felt somewhat frustrated in his heart. He said, "Little brat, you have already grown up and your wings have hardened. Now that you have the title of Little Heavenly Monkey, have you forgotten how I raised you? Feng's lips twitched as he stood up from the huge rock. He said helplessly, "Very well, tell me what you have to say. If it does not interfere with my matters, I can do it in passing." The yellow-robed man smiled and said, "Help me kill someone. Of course, if everything goes smoothly, you might not need to do anything." Feng's bright eyes stared at the yellow-robed man and said, "Kill someone? Given your cultivation as an inferior-grade martial sage, you still need me to help you kill someone?" The yellow-robed man said softly, "Sometimes there are some tacit understandings that cannot be broken. With my status, if I were to kill a junior genius, Bushin Palace will definitely find trouble with me. The Fiend Domain's Sky Fiend Palace will also find trouble with me." The situation was easy to understand. The major races were hostile to each other due to the competition for resources and other issues, but they also had their own tacit understanding. If your family sends out their older generation experts to kill the younger generation geniuses on my side, and my side does the same, then the two families can forget about developing. Sooner or later, there would be a shortage of successors, and their legacies would be severed. They would all perish. The matters of the younger generation should be left to the younger generation. If there were no great benefits, no one would break this unspoken tacit understanding. I have already contacted Wu Yuankai, one of the 10 great evildoers of the Hunluo province. This kind of loose cultivator does not fear anything. If he fails, you will have to take action." The yellow-robed man said indifferently. Feng shrugged his shoulders and said, "Up to you. However, I am curious. Who exactly are you going to kill? Even after inviting the 10 evils, you are still worried. Could it be the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain? Don't worry. They are not at that level yet. Just wait for my news. If I do not come looking for you in 10 days, the mission will end." The yellow-robed man leaped off the peak and vanished from Feng's sight. Feng, the genius cultivator of the giant ape race, who is known as the Little Heavenly Monkey in the Fiend Domain, had messy hair and loose robes. He smiled and said, "How disappointing. If it were not the 7 giants, this mission would be very boring." At this moment, Xiao Chun did not know that someone had killed Sidu Lei and Lu Chen for him, creating a huge disaster for himself. He was currently rushing to his next destination, the Hunluo province's provincial capital. After that, he would make a trip to the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's headquarters to see if the Eternal Heavenly Sword School had any connection to the Thunder King. Along the way, Xiao Chun gained a better understanding of the Hunluo province. This Hunluo province actually had 6 rank 8 sections. This surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. Chapter 744. Rank 8 sects were considered strong factions in the Tianwu domain. They were all in the same province. Who knew how intense the competition would be? The founder of this Eternal Heavenly Sword School is really shameless. Unexpectedly, he said that he created the Thunder Light Fleeing Shadow Sword. I really want to know who this Eternal Heavenly Sword Sage is. Ao Jiao said angrily from the Immortal Spirit Ring. Along the way, Xiao Chun met several Eternal Heavenly Sword School disciples. When they spoke, they all respected this founder of the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. They said that the Eternal Heavenly Sword School was an absolute genius. Not only did he establish the Eternal Heavenly Sword School from scratch, but he also created several exquisite sword techniques. In the end, when Ao Jiao heard this, she flew into a rage. The sword techniques that the other party mentioned, including the Thunder Light Fleeing Shadow Sword, were all comprehended by the Thunder King himself when he was young. Along the way, Xiao Chen had heard Ao Jiao's complaints several times. He smiled faintly and said, "Don't say any more. That Eternal Heavenly Sword Sage is probably dead already. There is no point in you cursing at him." Ao Jiao said calmly, "That person was already a martial sage 2,000 years ago. If he broke through to Emperor Wu, even if he was a minor Heavenly Emperor Wu, he would have no problem living for another 2,000 years. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "That is impossible. If he became Emperor Wu, he would shake up the entire place." No other faction would be able to set foot in Hunluo province. The most important thing is that the eternal Heavenly Sword School disciples did not say that he became a martial emperor. If he really became a martial emperor, he would flaunt it. What you say makes sense. However, I feel that this is too much of a coincidence. 2,000 years ago, right after the Thunder King fell, this eternal Heavenly Sword School was established. If he did not want to become a martial emperor, why would he establish a sect for no reason? Establishing a sect is for the sake of obtaining resources to become a martial emperor. Ao Jiao's expression turned grave. Her suspicions of this eternal Heavenly Sword School increased. Xiaochen noticed the main point in Ao Jiao's words. He asked, "What does establishing a sect have to do with breaking through to Emperor Wu?" Ao Jiao explained, "Some people with insufficient talent and luck will establish a sect and gather vast resources to forcefully break through to martial emperor. However, this kind of martial emperor's cultivation will forever be stuck at the minor celestial realm, unable to advance any further. Furthermore, the risks are equally high, and the resources required are astronomical. For some people, the gains do not make up for the losses." He glanced at Hunluo City, which was already in sight. Then he stopped and said, "Actually, by now, you should tell me how the Thunder Emperor fell back then." Inside the Immortal Spirit Ring, Ao Jiao remained silent for a long time. It was like she was unwilling to recall that period of the past. After a long time, she slowly said, "There are indeed some things that I have to tell you." Xiao Chun had always been suspicious about the Thunder King's death. As the youngest sovereign martial emperor since the Qing Emperor, Sang Mu had swept through the Kunlun realm unhindered. Practically no one in the same generation could match him. On the path of cultivation, those who could become Emperor Wu were usually people with great luck. Barring any accidents, they would not fall for no reason. This was even more so for someone like the Thunder Emperor. Since he could be conferred king, he would definitely not die by accident. Back then, in the Blue Dragon Palace, when the mysterious item spirit mentioned the Thunder King, it was full of praise. The first thing it asked Xiao Chun was if the Thunder King was the strongest sovereign martial emperor. After learning of the Thunder King's death, the stunned expression on the Thunder King's face did not seem to be feigned. Ao Jiao revealed a somewhat sorrowful expression. She said softly, "Back then, when Sang Mu advanced to sovereign martial emperor, he could not wait to challenge the Thunder King, one of the strongest sovereign martial emperors in the Tianwu domain." The Thunder King was a title. He was the founder of the Thunder and Lightning Palace, a sovereign martial emperor of the same generation as the Qing Emperor. He was also one of the oldest Emperor Wu of the Kunlun realm. Many people said that the Thunder King was the strongest of the human race. Even the Holy Lord of the Three Holy Masters was not as strong as him. Of course, rumors were just rumors. No one could take them seriously. Furthermore, the Thunder King had already lived for more than 10,000 years and had not shown himself for a very long time. No one knew whether he was dead or alive. Sang Mu was known as the Thunder King. Now that he advanced to sovereign martial emperor, he naturally wanted the Thunder King's title. However, the title was not bestowed by oneself. One had to have the corresponding strength for the title to be acknowledged by the world. Hence, there would definitely be a battle between Sang Mu and the Thunder King, one of the strongest Emperor Wu of the human race. Having just been conferred king, Sang Mu challenged a sovereign of the same generation as the Qing Emperor. Such boldness was something to look forward to. Xiao Chun asked somewhat anxiously, "Did he win or lose?" Ao Jiao revealed a pained expression. She muttered he lost. The Thunder King's Sang Mu's sword was broken by that old fellow, the Thunder King. Xiao Chun said somewhat dispiritedly, "In that case, the Thunder King was killed by the Thunder King." Ao Jiao shook her head and said, "No, that old fellow, the Thunder King, only broke the Sang Mu sword and severely injured the Thunder King. However, he did not kill him. He even said that this was an unfair victory and invited the Thunder King to fight him again in 100 years. Xiao Qin asked doubtfully, "In that case, who killed him?" "I'm not very clear on the specifics, either. The instant the Sang Mu sword broke, I fell into a deep sleep, in danger of dying at any moment. At some point in time, crystalline tears appeared in the corners of Ao Jiao's eyes. She said, "When I woke up, not only did the Thunder King not recover from his injuries, they even worsened, becoming fatal. At that time, I was so frightened that I started crying. He told me not to cry. When I asked him who did this to him, he did not say anything. He only said that he was betrayed by a vile person and that he had let me down. After that, he went to the Phoenix's Passion Palace, hoping to ask for a divine moonlight stone to protect me. However, he got into an argument with their young palace master. In his rage, the Thunder King dragged his dying body and killed their young palace master. He forcefully snatched away the divine moonlight stone. The Holy Lord of the Phoenix's Passion Palace planted a vermilion bird holy fire imprint on him, causing him to self-destruct. After Xiao Chun heard Ao Jiao's story, he finally understood the whole story. On the surface, the Thunder King appeared to have been killed by the Holy Lord of the Phoenix's Passion Palace. However, in reality, he was already dead. If he were at his peak, the Phoenix's Passion Palace's palace master might not have been able to kill the Thunder King. The crux of this should be the period after the Thunder King's defeat, when Ao Jiao was asleep. How exactly did the Thunder King's injuries become fatal? Clearly, the Thunder King did not want to tell Ao Jiao about this, so Xiao Chun had no way of knowing. Xiao Chun thought about the Thunder King's life. He came from a humble background and became famous at a young age. Along the way, the deeds he left behind in the Sky Dome realm became a legend. After he arrived in the Kunlun realm, he was like a fish in water. He was like a bound Kun Peng finally unfurling its wings, larger than the sky. He distinguished himself from the many lower realm geniuses and defeated the disciples of the various noble clans of the Tianwu domain. After he advanced to Martial Emperor, he rose up completely. From then on, he rampaged through the Kunlun realm, inspiring fear in Emperor Wu of the various races. Such a fall was truly regrettable. If the Thunder King had not died, he would definitely be the strongest sovereign martial emperor in the Tianwu domain 2,000 years later. Looking at Hunluo City in the distance, Xiao Chun did not know what to say. Unexpectedly, the Thunder King's death was so strange. Who exactly was the villain that the Thunder King spoke of? Who caused his injuries to become fatal? Xiao Chun did not know where to start investigating. Even if he knew, he would not be able to do anything about it. Given Xiao Chun's current strength, even 1,000 of him would not be a match for the person who could injure the Thunder King. No wonder Ao Jiao had not been willing to tell Xiao Chun. Before he was strong enough, even if he knew some things, he could only treat them as stories. It did not matter whether he told her or not. "Sorry, I made you recall some sad memories," Xiao Chun said with some guilt when he saw the tears in Ao Jiao's eyes. Ao Jiao gently wiped away the tears in her eyes and forced a smile. "It's fine. Some things have been bottled up in my heart for too long. Since I can say them, it means that I can walk out of them." Xiao Chun looked ahead with a resolute gaze. He said seriously, "Don't worry. I will definitely help you investigate the cause of the Thunder King's death. Who is the one behind this? The truth will come to light one day." Ao Jiao smiled and said, "Don't seek trouble for yourself. The Thunder King did not tell me back then. It must have been because his opponent was too strong and he did not want anyone to take revenge for him. Let's go. After we go to the Eternal Heavenly Sword School, we will immediately head for the Fiend Domain. You have your own path to walk as well." Xiao Chun did not say anything more. He only remembered this promise in his heart. In the future, when he climbed to the peak, he would personally kill the Thunder King's enemies. The strongest human martial emperor in the Tianwu domain, the Thunder King. Sooner or later, Xiao Chun would pay a visit and defeat the other party, fulfilling the Thunder King's final wish. Before the sky turned dark, Xiao Chun arrived at the city gates of Hunluo City. Hunluo City was no less majestic than Haotian City. In fact, it was even more majestic. This startled Xiao Chun. It was hard to imagine that this was the provincial capital of a border province. It was even more majestic than the provincial capitals of several major provinces in the Tianwu domain. After entering the city, Xiao Chun saw a different scene. Unexpectedly, the entire street was filled with cultivators. Furthermore, they all revealed killing chi, their gazes ferocious. If there was any conflict or argument, they would immediately start fighting. The scene was intense, but no one stopped them. The people here also seemed to be used to it. They watched with great interest and made comments from time to time. They seemed rather excited. Along the way, Xiao Chun saw several duels. Those who lost did not have a good ending. They all died on the street, their treasures snatched away. There were even some people who kept an eye on the cultivators entering the city. When they discovered any unfamiliar cultivator who was not strong or was alone, they immediately swarmed over. The entire city was so chaotic that there was no order to it. Everyone spoke with their fists. The law of the jungle was clear for all to see. Xiao Chun did not want to cause any trouble, so he released his dense, killing chi. Only then did he manage to intimidate the crowd, deterring them from acting rashly. After all, such a dense killing chi was not something an ordinary person could accumulate. With one look, it was clear that this person was someone who frequently walked the line between life and death. After finding a random inn, Xiao Chun ordered a table full of food and wine. Then, he called the waiter in and tossed out 5 astral coins. He said, "I have some questions for you. Answer them honestly." The waiter received the 5 astral coins and said with a smile, "Young hero, if you have anything to say, feel free to tell me." Xiao Chun nodded and said, "Tell me about Hunluo City situation. Also, tell me how much you know about the Eternal Heavenly Sword School." When the waiter heard that, he immediately started talking. His words were very nimble. Although he had a lot of vocabulary, he was not long-winded at all. Soon, Xiao Chun gained a rough understanding of Hunluo City. Clearly, this was not the waiter's first time speaking like this. However, when he spoke about the Eternal Heavenly Sword School, he was not as nimble. Chapter 745. Xiao Chun already had a rough idea of what the waiter said, so he could not help but feel disappointed. The waiter could tell that Xiao Chun wanted him to leave, so he said, "Young hero, there's a piece of news that you will definitely be interested in." Xiao Chun raised his head and asked, "What is it?" He, about this." The waiter hesitated. Xiao Chun understood what he meant and gave him another 5 astral coins. The waiter said happily, "Young hero is indeed a straightforward person. In that case, I'll be direct. The Eternal Heavenly Sword School is preparing to auction off a broken sword. It is a fragment of a subdivine weapon." When Xiao Chun heard that, he raised his eyebrows slightly. He said, "Subdivine weapons are worth cities. Even Emperor Wu would be interested. A fragment of a subdivine weapon would be worth a lot as well. It would attract some martial sages. However, this is not really big news." The waiter smiled mysteriously and said, "What if it is the sword that the Thunder King used back then?" Right after the waiter spoke, Xiao Chun and Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, were stunned at the same time, clearly shocked. Xiao Chun remembered that when he obtained the Thunderwood sword back then, he only had half of it. The other half was nowhere to be found. Why is the other half of the sword in their hands? Ao Jiao exclaimed excitedly from the Immortal Spirit Ring. "Xiao Chun, ask around and see if it is true." Seeing that Xiao Chun did not believe him, the waiter quickly said, "This insignificant one does not dare to lie. In the past few years, the Eternal Heavenly Sword School has occasionally auctioned off some treasures with sky-high prices. They're all worth cities. Other sects would definitely hide them, but the Eternal Heavenly Sword School sold them." Xiao Chun raised his wine cup and took a sip. He revealed a pondering expression. According to what the waiter said, the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's actions were very strange. What is the name of the auction house? When is it being held? Xiao Chun did not know about this. Since he did, he would definitely go and see if there was a chance to obtain the other half of the sword. However, the chances were slim. After all, it was just a fragment of a subdivine weapon. That half was already worth cities. The materials needed to forge a subdivine weapon were all rare resources. Many of them were treasures that could only be found by luck. Once one missed it, one would have to wait for hundreds of years. After the subdivine weapon was forged, it would interest several martial sages. This was especially so for the sects preparing to forge a subdivine weapon. They would spend a lot to buy it. Once the subdivine weapon was successfully forged, the owner's strength would immediately increase by 50%. It would not seem exaggerated at all. Furthermore, this divine weapon was once the sword of the Thunder Emperor, which added to its legend. Given Shao Qin's wealth, competing with these people was not realistic. It was not to compete with the Chun about it. The about it, not it said, Chun, with the Chun with would not have it. On the 30th of the month, that would be the day after tomorrow. It wouldn't take long. Shao Chun waved his hand and dismissed the waiter. Then he said to Ao Jiao in his heart, "What do you think? Why is the remaining half of the sword in the hands of the eternal heavenly sword school?" Waving his hand, Shao Chun dismissed the waiter. Then he said to Ao Jiao in his heart, "What do you think? How did the other half of the sword end up in the hands of the eternal heavenly sword school?" "You mean to say that the eternal heavenly sword sage betrayed the Thunder King back then?" Shao Chun asked probingly as he put down his wine cup. Ao Jiao shook her head slightly and said, "Not necessarily. Given the eternal heavenly sword sage's strength back then, even if the Thunder King was severely injured, he could have easily killed him." Shao Chun said somewhat helplessly, "What should I do with the other half of the sword? With my current wealth, it would be very difficult to obtain it. His competitors would definitely be martial sages. Compared to martial sages, Shao Qin's 100,000 astral coins paled in comparison. He had no chance of winning. Ao Jiao did not seem to care about this. She sighed softly and said, "We'll leave it to fate. We just need to pay attention to who obtains it in the end. Perhaps there will be a chance to get it back in the future. When the lunar shadow saber advances to a subdivine weapon, it will save us a lot of trouble." After eating and drinking, Shao Chun rented an independent courtyard at the back of the inn for peace and quiet. When the sky turned dark, a cultivator from the magnificent Fiend Hall arrived in the most chaotic area of Hanluo City, the Western District. This cultivator walked over in fear and trepidation. After looking around, he found his destination and carefully arrived at a courtyard. The Western District was filled with ferocious, loose cultivators. If not for the magnificent Fiend Hall's identity token, he would not have been able to enter this district as a medial-grade martial monarch. When this cultivator saw the doors before him, horror flashed in his eyes. Wu Yuankai, one of Hanluo City's 10 evildoers, lived in this courtyard. The 10 evildoers were all great bandits of the Tianwu domain and the Fiend domain. Even the weakest of them was a half-sage. The top 3 evildoers were even martial sages. The 6 great sects of Hanluo City would not casually offend these 3. This cultivator calmed himself and carefully knocked on the door knocker a few times. Then he said loudly, "Senior Wu, I am a disciple of the magnificent Fiend Hall. The news you are waiting for has arrived." Wu Yuankai's voice reverberated in the dark night for a long time. However, there was no reply from the courtyard. This scared the magnificent Fiend Hall cultivator waiting outside. "Come in." After a long time, a hoarse voice came from inside. The magnificent Fiend Hall cultivator quickly pushed the door open and entered the courtyard. Wu Yuankai, who was dressed in sackcloth robes, looked indifferently at the newcomer and said, "The magnificent Fiend Hall is only so. It took you 7 days to find a person." The newcomer smiled and said, "Hanluo province is so big. Finding a person is like finding a needle in a haystack. It is not an easy task. Take a look. This is the down payment, 50,000 astral coins. After the matter is over, I will give you the other half." Wu Yuankai received a space ring from the person. After checking it, a look of greed flashed across his eyes. He grinned and said, "Give me that person's address. Wait for my good news in 3 days." "Thank you, Senior. I will take my leave first." That person handed over Shao Qin's address and left in a hurry, not willing to stay for another second. Wu Yuankai took a look at the address and said softly, "Since I took someone's money, I have to help them deal with their problems. Junior, don't blame me for being ruthless." The auction would begin on the 30th of the month. Hanluo City was in chaos for 3 days. Shao Chun was not in the mood to go out and take a stroll, so he focused all his energy on cultivating. Ghostly image chop. Blue dragon goes to sea. Soaring dragon. In the small courtyard, Xiaochun used less than 1% of his quintessence to execute the 3 heaven-ranked martial techniques that he knew. Of the 3 heaven-ranked martial techniques, Soaring Dragon was definitely the strongest. This was because it contained the might of a true dragon soaring. It was the strongest of the 3. Furthermore, it was a move that Xiaochun could perfectly grasp. With this move, no superior-grade martial monarch would be a match for him. Even a half-sage would not dare to clash head-on. Of course, the other 2 moves were not just for show. Ghostly Image Chop was a combination of moves. Once Xiaochun found his opponent's weak point, he would have a 50% chance of killing his opponent in one move. Even against a half-sage, Xiaochun had a 50% chance of killing his opponent in one move. As for Blue Dragon Goes to Sea, it was a heaven-ranked martial technique that could be used multiple times. It was not like Soaring Dragon and Ghostly Image Chop, which exhausted a large amount of quintessence and mental energy. Under normal circumstances, Xiaochun would use it the most. The other 2 could be used as killing moves. Aside from this, Xiaochun also had the Dragon Tone Art. When he caught his opponent off guard, he could obtain an unexpected result. Furthermore, it was very effective against spirit beasts. As for using the Dragon Tone Art to deal with the deity race experts, Xiaochun did not dare to be too presumptuous. After all, he had not seen the deity race's mental energy martial techniques before. Naturally, the Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram was the best trump card for Xiaochun. This Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram could easily block the full-powered strikes of 2 half-sages. Its potential was limitless. During these 3 days, Xiaochun made a simple assessment of his strength. This could be considered a summary of his overall strength after his fight with Lu Chun and Sita Lei. On the surface, my weakness appears to be my insufficient cultivation. However, it is actually my will. Xiaochun withdrew his saber and calmly analyzed the situation. Actually, the cultivation of the 7 giants was about the same. However, Bai Wuxue and the others were several times weaker than in Juanxi. There were many reasons for this. However, the most important one was that in Juanxi's will far surpass theirs. Although their cultivations were the same, their strength was on a completely different level. In fact, several inferior-grade martial sages were no longer a match for Juanxi. The most crucial thing is to comprehend a will. After this trip, I have to rush to the place that Ao Jiao mentioned. Who is it? Hiding there, acting sneakily. Suddenly, Xiaochun's expression changed. He turned around and retreated 100 meters. Then, he placed his right hand on his saber hilt and stared coldly at Wu Yuankai, who was standing on the wall. Wu Yuankai looked at Xiaochun and silently landed on ground. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Your vigilance is pretty good. Unfortunately, you're going to be a dead man soon." Wu Yuankai did not look particularly old. He looked like a middle-aged man. However, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes and the vicissitudes of life in his eyes gave off a feeling of lethargy. Wu Yuankai's large black robes wrapped around his body tightly. He wore a pair of dark gold gloves on his hands. Wu Yuankai, Wu Yuankai, Wu Yuankai. There was clearly nothing around Wu Yuankai's body, but occasionally, miserable cries could be heard. In the quiet night, the miserable cries tugged at the taut strings in the minds of cultivators. When this person landed, Xiaochun took advantage of the opportunity to retreat another 200 meters. He looked at the other party with a grave expression, not daring to be careless. Xiaochun's mental energy was vast and boundless, and his spiritual sense was very sharp. Normally, he would be able to discover a hostile cultivator within a kilometer of him. However, Wu Yuankai only got within 100 meters of Xiaochun before he was discovered. If Xiaochun had been any later, he might have been killed in a sneak attack. Occasionally, the disturbing cries resounded. Although Xiaochun was not greatly affected, he kept feeling that something was wrong. Xiaochun tried to focus his spiritual sense in his eyes. When he squinted, he discovered 10-odd scarlet ribbons of light that were hard to see with the naked eye surrounding Wu Yuankai. The ribbons of light were as fine as needles and thread. As they circled Wu Yuankai, they undulated like waves. As the scarlet ribbons of light moved, the spiritual energy of the world scattered and gathered like rain. As the scarlet ribbons of light moved, the spiritual energy of the world scattered and gathered like rain. Chapter 746. However, regular cultivators could not see it with their naked eyes. They could only vaguely feel the other party's flourishing aura like a mountain pressing down. This was the commonly known sage might. When cultivators advanced to martial sage, they could comprehend the power of the world and form strong heavenly sage laws. According to legend, Emperor Wu could even become one with the world, forming his own heavenly laws. With a wave of his hand, the sky would crumble, the earth would crack, mountains and rivers would shatter. Those thin red ribbons of light should be the laws of the world of this person, the half-step sage realm. This person was definitely not simple to condense 10-odd heavenly sage laws. Back when Xiao Qin fought by Wu Xue, it looked like they were evenly matched within 100 moves. However, after another 500 moves, Xiao Qin's quintessence and vital qi would run dry. Furthermore, Bai Wuxue had heavenly sage laws. The speed at which he absorbed spiritual energy and the amount of quintessence he could store were not something Xiao Chun could compare to. Xiao Chun, this person is not simple. The red ribbons of light you see are not his true heavenly sage laws. They are just the projection of the heavenly sage laws in his Dantian. A.O. Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, said with some worry he should have cultivated some kind of evil cultivation technique, infusing his baleful aura into his laws. Otherwise, the originally vast and mighty laws of the world would not be scarlet and filled with evil qi. If there is an opportunity, it is best to leave. Back when you fought with Bai Wuxue, no matter what, he had to worry about Xue Lingling. This person is a loose cultivator. He is probably lawless and does not care about anything. Even without A.O. Jiao's reminder, Xiao Chun was already very focused. The person before him was probably the strongest opponent he had faced since coming to the Kunlun realm. Thunderclouds filled the sky above, and muffled thunder slowly roared. Occasionally, purple lightning tore through the sky. Xiao Chun had already unleashed his immortal state of thunder. Xiao Chun placed his right hand on his saber hilt and silently executed Qing Emperor, drawing the saber. A red light flickered in Xiao Chun's eyes. That was the peak state of massacre that he had not used for a long time. At this moment, he did not hold it back. The wind formed by the massacre intent slowly blew in the courtyard with a heavy and desolate feeling. Soon, a strong wind blew. This wind contained the boundless killing intent in Xiao Chen's eyes. As the strong wind blew, the green grass in the courtyard lost all signs of life and withered on the spot due to the strong wind of massacre. The wind howled and the cranes howled, accompanied by lightning and thunder in the night sky. Amidst the shocking momentum, Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered, and his black hair fluttered. Holding his saber hilt, Xiao Chun withdrew his aura, hiding himself in the world. In the vast and unbridled aura, he seemed infinitely small. The distance between him and Wu Yuankai seemed to have increased by thousands of kilometers. However, with just one movement, this tiny figure hidden in the world would cross 5,000 kilometers and arrive with a torrential aura. Wu Yuankai's pupils constricted as he exclaimed softly. A strange light flashed in his eyes, and he was somewhat surprised. And he Wuin he chi. He Xiao Chun was he comma with comma he drawing he Dao Xiao yi. What shocked him was Xiao Chen's drawing the saber. What shocked Wu Yuankai was Xiao Chen's drawing the saber. Martial monarchs of the same generation, even cultivators with higher cultivations than Xiao Chun, felt suppressed on the spot. However, to Xiao Chun, this was nothing. He had already condensed his own heavenly sage laws. His aura contained the might of sage, so he did not fear it at all. However, to Wu Yuankai, this was nothing. He had already condensed his own heavenly sage laws. His aura contained the might of a sage, so he did not feel any fear. Interesting. What a strange drawing the saber. He infused his aura and state into his saber technique. However, it does not look perfect. Wu Yuankai's lips curled up. Although he was shocked, he did not feel much pressure. He appeared very relaxed. Good. Watch as I capture you and force out this drawing the saber. Ha! Xiao! Xiao! Wu Yuankai stepped forward. Amid the strong wind and lightning, he charged forward with an indomitable will. However, just as Wu Yuankai took half a step forward, he suddenly discovered 34 images leaping out of the boundlessly distant white figure. Each image represented a trajectory of the saber. 34 different saber positions sealed off all possible routes of escape for Wu Yuankai. Wu Yuankai's feet shrank back as he quickly retreated. His relaxed demeanor now had a grave expression. Xiaochen looked forward and saw a strong wind howling endlessly. Thunder rumbled in the dark clouds above. Occasionally, purple lightning tore through the sky. That insignificant figure did not move at all. Xiao Chun continued to hide his body under the sky, looking at Xiao Chun coldly from 5,000 kilometers away. Strange. Unexpectedly, this drawing the saber has such a name. Wu Yuankai no longer dared to be careless. The 10-odd red ribbons of light behind him suddenly brightened. As the light flickered, it became as red as blood. Its aura flourished as it rose continuously. Xiao Chun thought to himself that it was unfortunate. If this person had walked up without any fear earlier, he would have died. If this person had walked up without any fear, he would have used the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber to strike the careless person in an instant. Xiao Chun would have been able to gain the initiative in one move. Advancing or retreating would have been under Xiao Chen's control. Unfortunately, this person was extremely cautious. The moment he took half a step forward, he immediately reacted. He would not give Xiao Chun such a good opportunity. As the two auras clashed in the courtyard, the atmosphere instantly turned extremely stifling. Strong winds, lightning, scarlet light, and anguished cries all tangled together, giving off dull sounds of collisions. Kassier, Kassier. The ground cracked bit by bit. Many cracks spread out like a spiderweb. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. There was no lack of experts in the surroundings of the inn. Several of them immediately sensed the stifling aura. They looked around and quickly rushed over. Night battles were not rare in the chaotic provincial capital. However, few were like this. Before it even started, everyone already felt that something was wrong. This is definitely not a fight between nobodies. It must be a fight between experts. The cultivators who came to Hunluo City were definitely not good people. Aside from being able to watch the excitement, they might even be able to pick up some unexpected benefits. Soon, hundreds of cultivators gathered around Xiao Chen's courtyard. They all stared at the two below with fervent gazes. When these people clearly saw Wu Yuankai's face, they all showed horrified expressions. They could not help but take a few steps back. It's Wu Yuankai. He is one of Hunluo City's 10 great evildoers, an existence ranked 20th in the Tianwu Domain's evil cultivator gang. How can it be him? This old fellow has not come out for a long time already. The two people in the courtyard did not care about the commotion outside. The instant Wu Yuankai's aura reached its peak, he stopped hesitating and attacked decisively. The scarlet light around Wu Yuankai was frighteningly dense. Countless sinister, monstrous heads moved up and down, opening their mouths and roaring with all their might. All sorts of negative emotions, massacre, berserk chaos, grief, and fear surged toward Xiao Chun like the tide, entering his sea of consciousness. The vast mental energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness turned into a golden sea that reverberated. With a huge wave, it shattered all these negative emotions. The horrifying, baleful aura did not affect Xiao Chen at all. Xiao Chen's hidden body calmly watched Wu Yuankai fly over. After 2 breaths, Xiao Chen's right hand, which was on the saber hilt, moved. Amid the strong wind and lightning, the resplendent saber light seemed to traverse 5,000 kilometers, arriving in an instant. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out in the dark night. In an instant, The courtyard was shattered by the two strong forces. The ground, which had already cracked long ago, could no longer endure it. With a loud rumble, it completely crumbled. Thousands upon thousands of huge rocks flew into the air, turning the place chaotic. Pussy-eye. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. His figure was sent flying backward continuously. Huge rocks were smashed into pieces by his body one after another. Wu Yuankai, who was in the air, did not move at all. However, there was a horrifying saber wound on his chest. The remnant electricity in the wound sizzled continuously. The electricity poured into Wu Yuankai's body, wreaking havoc. Wu Yuankai's lips twitched, and his thick eyebrows knitted tightly. When Wu Yuankai looked down, he saw the 8-centimeter-long saber wound on his chest, which broke through his inner armor. An expression of disbelief flashed in his eyes. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Wu Yuankai's body had dodged more than 30 times, according to Xiao Chen's movements, in order to avoid the omnipresent trajectory of the saber. Originally, Wu Yuankai thought that he had completely seen through the trajectory of Xiao Chen's saber. However, in the final instant of the exchange, he missed and got struck by Xiao Chen's saber. However, Wu Yuankai's reaction was very fast. His combat experience prevented him from panicking. The moment the saber light touched Wu Yuankai's chest, he struck Xiao Chen's right shoulder with a palm strike. The surging palm force knocked Xiao Chen back, not giving Xiao Chen any chance to deepen his wound. The tyrannical palm force pierced through Xiao Chen's protective quintessence and the light barrier within him, weakening it by 50 to 60%. However, it still injured Xiao Chen. If not for Xiao Chen's physical body already reaching rank 1 sage body, this palm strike would have shattered all of Xiao Chen's internal organs. Even if this person's strength was not comparable to Bai Wushua's, he was not far from it. Bang! Xiao Chen stabilized his figure and stood on a huge rock. His body leaned forward slightly as he held his saber with one hand. His gaze was as sharp as a weapon as he looked at Wu Yuankai coldly. Wu Yuankai is injured. Peering through the flying rocks, the many cultivators on the buildings around the inn saw the wound on Wu Yuankai's chest. Shock flashed in the depths of their eyes. Strange, who is this brat? He is so young, yet he can fight Wu Yuankai on equal footing and even injure him. Wu Yuankai's cultivation has already reached rank 2 half-sage. His reputation as one of the 10 evildoers is not for nothing. Since when could a nameless brat injure him? This is a good show to watch. Wu Yuankai has been killing people for the past few decades. Who knows how much wealth he has robbed? If something happens to him, our opportunity might come. Some people were shocked, but even more people harbored evil intentions. They revealed a murderous intent in their eyes as they stared at Wu Yuankai. This was Hunluo City. None of the cultivators who came here were cowards. Even if one was infamous, once one revealed a weakened state and was severely injured, no one would mind beating up a drowning dog.